What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Terror Table, a horror movie podcast. My name is Mitch Oliver. I'm one of your hosts here every single week, and with me, as always,
Buzi.
We got Buzi here, and much like ghosts, our guests are real. This much I know. Our guests this week are, you've heard them on a plethora of podcasts, including the Cobwebs podcast, Film Feast, Schlock and Awe, Inside the Sequel, and I'm so sorry if I'm forgetting any others. But these boys get around in the podcast world. So you've heard them on all those shows, and we are welcoming Hayden Gilbert and Mark Wanner to the Terror Table.
Hello,
Howdy, gentlemen.
Hello.
It is a pleasure.
That voice you heard is Mark. Mark, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone.
There we go.
Hey, guys.
There's Wanner. And Hayden, why don't you say hello to the teabags?
Hello, tea bags, and don't be silly. Of course, I am Mark's sister. That's me pushing him off the balcony.
He is wasting no time getting to those references.
That was the only quote I could remember off the top of my head.
Don't remember such
You
a
just-
coarse,
I like how you
condescending man.
just get them out at the start of the episode. I watched this thing, and here's me quoting it.
Yeah. But this episode, this is going to be our one that's bridging the gap between our yearly Christmas special, which you'll have heard last week with our guest Nick Humphreys on Christmas Evil. And I think this episode's going to come out between Christmas and New Year's. And we wanted to do that. I think it was actually Hayden's idea that we wanted to do like a snowy ghost tale. Like this is something that you kind of imagine around this time of year. It's the kind of movie that you want to see. We're talking, of course, about Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak.
Or as I like to call it, Christmas Peak.
Christmas Peak.
Christmas Peak.
Christmas Peak.
Quickly, this was a Hayden suggestion, but I'm assuming, Mark, you're also a stan of this film.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love it. Hayden and I, there are some areas we really don't get along, but we have these like weird areas where we click, and our love of this is one of those areas.
Perfect. Yeah, because I know originally I had invited Hayden on when he was talking about Dracula Dead and Loving It on the Film Feast podcast. And I was like, you and Mark want to come on and talk about some horror comedies? And apparently horror comedies aren't really your guys' thing.
Yeah.
Happy that we found something that is your thing. So yeah, we're going to talk about Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak. And I think the next episode after this will be our annual top 10 episode. And Buzi and I will be sharing our top 10s of the year.
We're going to be mixing it up and cooking in the kitchen.
That's exactly what we're doing.
It has been like an exceptionally, I won't say a great, I mean, it's been a very good year for horror. It's been a lot of horror this year.
Yeah, tons.
Like, how did Christmas Bloody Christmas go to every theater in the United States?
Oh my god.
That was in theaters, and okay, so I don't think that was in the theater in Canada, but I could be wrong. I watched it on Shudder.
There's only one theater in Canada.
It came out in Shudder, and like we didn't get the new Spielberg movie for like 2
that's
months.
wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just got it. So not 2 months, but like
Right.
we just got it weeks after it made its wide release. But we've had Christmas Bloody Christmas playing for weeks.
That's wild.
Playing in every Cinemark, it looks like.
Crazy. Well, yeah, maybe we'll be hearing a review on Christmas Bloody Christmas from y'all. But I guess before we do all that, so we're gonna we'll talk about Crimson Peak at the end, at the top of this episode, at the peak, if you will. Sorry, I was boo.
That was a good one. I like
was
that.
Bad.
At the
that was
peak,
good.
if you will.
Yeah, but before that, we'll share what we've been up to, what we've seen recently. But before we do all that, let's give our listeners the lowdown on both of you guys and like what your history with horror is, and what's the kind of stuff that attracts you to the genre. And obviously, you guys are both horror fans. Let's lead off with Mark. Mark, why don't you tell us your story?
Explain yourselves.
I mean, it's kind of tough to sum up. I don't really know it. I've just always kind of been drawn to the genre. When I watched Grindhouse, that's when it kind of clicked for me, like, oh wait, this is my favorite genre. And ever since then, it's been like what my go-to, even though like the stuff I gravitate towards the most is like kind of calmer, more quiet stuff, like what you guys covered last week with Matt, the Black Coat's daughter, which I'm mad that he beat me to that one.
That one's a good one.
Yeah, he called dibs on that one a while ago, and I know, yeah, obviously that episode's out now, so people can hear that we're huge fans of it.
A good episode.
Thank you. Yeah, and obviously, like I like that you say that you're more into like the quieter side and the subtle and darker stuff, but then you have a Saw poster behind you, which is not like that at all. You guys are also the biggest Halloween Kills Halloween stands that I know.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
gentleman.
Halloween Kills is
Gentlemen.
like the most
You know-
obnoxious movie I've ever seen.
One of my favorite things about this podcast, I love how every now and then a like random quote unquote bad or a movie that's not, widely viewed as good movie will get mentioned offhandedly, not even as part of the main conversation. And Mitch will be like, "Oh, I love that movie." Very often, a lot. And it infuriates me that Halloween Kills is not the recipient of that.
Okay, that's fair.
I think in like a couple years he's gonna come around. He's gonna have like this really goofy fun stage and realize the goofy fun that it is.
Here's the thing: once they announce the next direction they're taking Halloween, a lot more people I think will start liking the Halloween.
Oh yeah, it's the same thing that's happening with zombies movies are getting reappraised now because people are so pissed off about I'm neither here nor there. I've gotten over my annoyance with those movies, but I love listening to you guys talk about that trilogy because you guys truthfully love it, and I love that for you.
Wait, so out of the three, what is your favorite? Buzi and Mitch, what are your favorites out of the three? Because I know y'all don't like them from like the inception. Like
you guys are gonna hate this, but honestly, Ends is my favorite.
I love Ends. Yeah, I love Ends.
Mine's in order of how they came out. They're
crazy.
all,
I thought you like Kills even more, but yeah, Buzi, you love those movies.
I like the way that the subtlety of the first one.
Yeah,
I've been meaning for an entire year to give props to Buzi for being the only one on this podcast to like Kills and to speak so kindly of it on your episode about it last year.
I remember I was jazzed on it, and I see a lot of people clowning weird things on there. So thank you.
Weird. Quotes on weird. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So we caught up with Mark a little bit, but Hayden, what about yourself? Like you're the one who pulled Crimson Peak out of the bag here. What's your bread and butter?
I'll do a very condensed history of horror with Hayden. Eli Roth's Hayden's History of Horror. Like my dad showed me the Universal monster movies as a kid, and I fell in love with them. From that, I really love monster movies, and like gothic horror are like my bread and butter when it comes to
two things that also cross over together really well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's like, so it's different parts of my personality. Like I like specific slashers. I don't love the slasher subgenre and stuff, but like I think also the fact that I was a very dramatic theater kid whenever I was like in grade school, I think because of that, I was like, whenever I'd watch gothic horror, I'd be like, "Ooh, I love the way these people dress. I want to dress like that." I was a total fucking nerd. So I love the aesthetics of that stuff. And monsters are just cool as hell. So that's really the area of the genre that I like.
Yeah, and I can relate to that as well because I had messaged Daniel about it. But when I was flying, I was out of the country, and while I was flying home, I listened to your Sleepy Hollow episode with Daniel on Cobwebs, and that's like a very foundational movie for me as well. And it was very much that nerdy. I love the aesthetic. I love the way they dress. I love the way they talk. Even though like Johnny Depp's accent changes throughout that movie, and I still like that's a 5 out of 5 for me. I love that movie.
That movie just has like the best line readings. Like every character has something great.
Yeah. So it makes sense that we've now found ourselves at Crimson Peak, which I'm very excited to talk about eventually. But yeah, now that we got that out of the way, let's just kind of kick back and talk shop here, talk horror. Who wants to go first? Let's pass it off to Hayden first.
Oh lordy. Okay, I gotta pull up my letterbox because Mark can tell you I have a notoriously bad memory. Mark, what have we watched? We've watched a bunch of stuff together recently.
I mean, I guess we can I thought I was going to be the one talking about it, but I guess we can both talk about Christmas Bloody Christmas.
There we go.
You can take the lead on that one. I don't really remember a lot from Christmas Bloody Christmas.
That's true. You fell asleep during a long chunk of it. It felt like.
Was that the movie's fault, or are you just a sleepy guy?
I'm a sleepy guy. I was very drunk.
Okay, double respect.
Yeah, and okay, so here's the thing. It starts off, and I chose it. I was like, Mark, I really want to watch. I know you just saw this in theaters, but I really want to watch Christmas Bloody Christmas. And we watched it, and I've never seen a Joe Bagos.
Yeah, Joe Bagos.
Yeah, I had never seen a Joe Bagos movie, but I'm familiar with like that crowd because I was a big Shockwaves listener. So like,
Yeah.
I know he kind of runs with them and you know his group. So we watched it and
Oh boy.
okay, Mark, you take over.
Look, I like Joe Bigos, maybe against my better judgment. He's like the most derivative filmmaker working today. I mean, Hayden put it best. I don't know why I never thought of this. He's like kind of shitty Rob Zombie, where everything he does is like it's like everything he does.
Joe, I'm sorry, Joe.
He does the throwback, like everything of his is like a callback to an earlier era, but
Yeah, I guess
even
that's a
more
good point. And the crass language.
Oh,
okay, so every other word. So here's the thing. I'm sorry. What I meant by that was like, so every guy in this movie looked exactly the same. They all looked like him. And that's the thing was whenever you're watching a Rob Zombie movie, everybody's like, oh, everybody looks like Rob Zombie. So I'm watching this.
You think
Christmas
that's like
Bloody-
a sexual thing?
I think so. He just wants to see himself in every
Right.
human being. But everybody looks like Joe Bigos because he pops up later. I was like, oh, it's another beard white guy with long hair. I was like, oh, okay, it's him. And so so they got that in common. Then the very colorful language, which with Rob Zombie, he kind of like, I know a lot of people dislike his crassness, but there is like a beautiful
Rob Zombie's very creative with his vulgarity,
Yes.
and Joe Bigos just has every other word be fuck. Like, fucking, there's a fucking killer, fucking Santa, fucking comer after us, fucking man.
It was absurd. Like, I'm a guy who can't get through a sentence without saying a swear word, and I was like, oh my god, like were they trying to break the record?
I remember seeing a tweet from Joe Bigos or someone involved with the movie about like, I think we beat Wolf of Wall Street. So I think they were like intentionally trying to do
And
it.
it's a movie that's half the running time.
as I say, it's like 3 hours shorter than Wolf of Wall Street. Too.
All right,
But
so,
I feel like I sounded like I was negative on it. I actually do really enjoy the movie because for all of its obnoxious BS, it's still Joe Bigos has an energy to his movies that just really works, and it doesn't reach the highs of something like VFW, but it's also maybe the stupidest movie I've ever seen, but it's like, I don't know. It's a good time.
That's a
all
tall
I can
order
say.
right there.
That's all I can say. It's a good time.
yeah.
Well, he and the other, who's the other guy that we brought up last night, Mark? The other
Mickey Keating,
Mickey
the other
Keating,
derivative
yes.
guys.
Yeah, they're two filmmakers who, like Mark said, very derivative. They kind of like make love letters to the kinds of movies they want. So I don't know, because I know of the movies Bagos, I don't know how to say it. Bigos has done. I know of them, and they're like all pastiches of specific movies that he loves. So I really don't know like his specific voice other than like redoing these things that he likes, sort of like Mickey Keating. So they're like fans, as Ryan Turek would say, they're like fans like the rest of us, but like I don't really know what their specific deal is. So I thought Christmas Bloody Christmas was okay. I can't tell you if it's better than Violent Night. I didn't see Violent Night.
Yeah,
so.
I want to see Violent Night. I've heard it's great.
He's bringing up all these comparisons because I know he wants me to comment on them. Yes, I saw Violent Night. I didn't like it. I liked Christmas Bloody Christmas better.
Oh, there we go.
I don't want a dog on it because a lot of people seem to be enjoying it.
I just like poking the bear.
Poke away, my friend. Poke away. Awesome. So, yeah, that's Christmas Bloody Christmas. So it sounds like it's a lukewarm. It sounds like lukewarm to Mark in favor. So it's on Shudder. Give it a look. There's definitely worse things you could be watching, but yeah,
There are
those-
way worse things on Shudder, in fact, that you could watch.
yeah,
Much
there you go.
worse.
Awesome. Yeah, let's pass it to Boozy, and then we'll just kind of go around. But Boozy, what have you been up to? What have you been watching?
I've been getting in the Christmas spirit. So I checked out 2 Christmas horror films, which I'll talk about. The first one being Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. Better watch out.
Horror movie. How many Christmas horror movies are hyphenated with "Better Watch Out"? Like, there's so many.
Weird. Apparently, that's the only time you can watch out is around Christmas. The rest of the year, you have to be like,
And it
just
has to be
unaware.
better. It can't be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to watch out.
Okay, so Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3. So
Yes.
we did we do the first 2?
Yes,
Like,
we did.
okay.
I remember because I knew we did the first one, and then I was like, okay, I'll check out the second one. And then I remembered that the second one basically
same
is
thing.
just clips from the first one. And I remember us talking about it because it was like a 5-minute review. But yeah, I wanted to see where 3 went. So this is directed by Monte Hellman, and it was direct to video in 1980. What year did this come out? 1980 something.
Mhm.
Blah blah blah.
In the 80s.
1989.
Okay.
And anyway, it's got the Santa Claus killer. He has a giant globe thingy on around his brain, and his brain's exposed, and he's in like a coma. But then he wakes up because there's a girl who has a psychic ability and is connected to him. And then she goes to her grandma's for Christmas, and he like wakes up because the Santa Claus comes and says hi to him, and then he kills him and becomes the Santa Claus again. Anyway,
This sounds like that Johnny Depp film Transcendence.
it's just
Well, see,
it was so much
Oh
for
my
a Christmas slasher film.
The thing I
Anyway,
hate
like,
about it is that it's so derivative. You know?
It's like this has been done so many times.
this has been done many times and better, let me say. Especially the part where she sees everyone's kills before they happen, and then she remembers people's names because she's like never met some of the people that get murdered. So it'll just be randomly a scene, she'll be doing her thing, and all of a sudden she'll just stop, and then she'll be like, Jimmy, and then it'll just do this weird ass flashback. And it was not great. It felt kind of Christmassy, so I appreciated that part of it. But yeah,
I'm curious,
overall,
are you doubling this one up with another installment from this franchise?
maybe.
Okay, all right, because I'm confused. These all bleed together for me because I've only seen the first 2.
I finally watched all of them.
How many are there?
There are 6 if you count the remake.
Yeah.
There's a remake too, right? I forgot about that.
There are 6, and the first one is legitimately great. I really like the first one, and then the others, I have no strong opinions about the others. I've been told numerous times by my friend that the 4th one is actually very good, but I've seen it, and I was a sleepy boy during that one too. I fell asleep.
I'm starting to just think you're a sleepy boy for most films here.
I kind of am. Clint Howard has like a shrimp that he puts in people's.
Okay, so is this the one you're going to, Boozy? Are you going to 4?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
all
I'm
right.
sorry.
Here we
I'm
go.
sorry. I didn't mean to bury the lead.
I the only reason I know that is because you mentioned Clint Howard and a shrimp, and Boozy sent me. You sent me an image of that, so I assume that's the film you're about to talk about.
Yes. I didn't know if you wanted me to wait a little bit
No,
in
let's
suspense or okay. So I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Initiation. This came out a year after 3 and has nothing to do with 3. So it really has nothing to do with any of the other movies in this franchise. This is directed by Brian Yuzna, who
Yuzna,
is
legend.
famous for doing Society and From Beyond,
Yes.
as well as didn't you do Reanimator?
No, that was Stuart Gordon.
He did Bride of Reanimator.
I think he had something to do with Reanimator.
Yeah, the sequels.
Anyway, it was weird. I didn't realize that. I didn't look up who directed this. Obviously, I'm not like, oh wow, it's Silent Night, Deadly Night 4. So I just started watching it, and that was something that was in my head for a lot of this. This feels like Society, and I don't know why. So I was very surprised when I actually went and looked it up.
Society.
It really does, which it says a lot about a Christmas movie, right? Anyway, this whole movie's about a bug. So I don't even know how to explain it. Basically, a lady falls off the roof that's on fire, and she gets squished onto the ground, and a bunch of people see it, and then some reporters go looking for it, and then this lady meets up with a group of women, and they all start hanging out, and a couple of them are reporters, and there's a worm society, and they have to give bug birth to reanimate a god.
Listen here, man. I'm not a doctor, but this sounds exactly up your alley, Buzi.
I'm not a doctor.
It was, but they didn't give me enough of what I wanted. It was a lot of people just talking to each other, and only a little bit
dialogue.
of people ingesting worms okay. So at one point, somebody gets raped while
What the
somebody's wearing
fuck?
this weird like clown nose from like Slipknot mask, and then they're also putting gooey worms on top of this person while it's happening. At one point, a bunch of people burst into a family's house that's having a Christmas party and like slaughters them. So there's a little bit of Christmas there.
I remember there not being any snow, and so I was like, I'm disappointed. Yeah, I was like,
There's not. They do not try. They just put a tree up inside these people's home.
right. I was disappointed that it wasn't really Christmas movies. So, and then I fell asleep probably. But like, what?
I feel like it was made as something else, and then they just tacked on this weird ass scene, and then flew it on through as a howl or a silent night
That would
movie.
make the most sense. That would make more sense than anything in the movie. Now, what Boosie forgot to mention is that when the lady jumps off the building and she smashes into the ground, the crowd comes up, and a hospital security guard is leaning over, and a tube shrimp crawls out of her body, and he says, "Now he's turning us into monsters."
Oh,
And it's Sheriff Brackett from Halloween. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
That's all I got.
Jesus. Yeah, okay, is this the one? It sounds like you guys have seen all of, so Hayden, you had mentioned you've seen all these movies. Is 4 the one that people, because I know there's a later sequel that people like. Is that the 5th one or is that the 4th?
It's fourth. The 5th one is the one with Mickey Rooney, because it's the only notable thing about the 5th one is that Mickey Rooney was famously like, all these fucking slashers are terrible. The kids shouldn't be able to watch these fucking things, because he's from a Joe Bigos movie. He's like, they shouldn't be watching these fuckers because it shouldn't be making Santa Claus a fucker killer.
fucker killer.
And then it turns out, and then then they got him for the 5th one, and he was like, I have no strength in my convictions. he's like the villain in the 5th one.
You know what? Like we always say on the terror table, you just gotta chase that bag.
like we always say.
Yeah, get it, Mickey Rooney.
Dude, he definitely got it. And
Get that Silent Night
we
money.
just watched it the other night, and I could not tell you a single thing about it. I couldn't tell you a single thing about it.
What I'm finding about these Silent Night films as I've gone on in the series, and I don't think I'll continue, is that they're kind of like Amityville. It's just in name alone, and then they just do whatever the fuck they
And
want
there's
to
not
do.
400 of them.
If once this thing gets to public domain, it's over.
Fun fact, just from digging around IMDb here, looking up The Initiation, the director Martin Katrosser, I'm probably butchering that name, script supervisor on Kill Bill Volume
Isn't
1.
he script supervisor? Isn't he like do every Tarantino movie? Or
I just see he wrote the screenplay for Friday the 13th.
he's had a
3
weird career.
and 4. Oh, and 5. Sorry.
He's like part of Tarantino's
Yes.
Rat Pack.
What do you if you were in the you're in the film business, what do you tell people? Do you tell people, "Oh, I wrote a couple Friday the 13th movies," or "I'm Quentin Tarantino's script supervisor"? Which one of those do you go with?
That's a tough one, because those are both awesome.
Depends who your audience
Depends.
is,
Do
I
they like
think.
to fuck feet?
Like if it's more of the like if it's the feet people or the horror people, that's really where you differentiate. And when it goes in between, you can double whammy them.
Okay. All right. Well, that's Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3 and 4.
Double header.
That's a I guess I'll just quickly knock something off. Just got back today. I went to Seattle for the evening, and I went to the Museum of Pop Culture. So I got to see a bunch of really cool things.
Do you feel depressed? Do you feel more grunge?
Yeah, I did. There is something in my butt. Mm. No, I did. Yeah, I checked out the Nirvana museum. It was funny. I went with my roommate. He's not a Nirvana fan at all. I am. I actually do like Nirvana.
Right.
But he's like, yeah, like just look up wherever places you want to go. I was like, oh, I want to go to the house that Kurt Cobain blew his head off at. And he's like, what is wrong with you?
Oh.
But yeah, it's famously you can go and take a picture. But I had to choose between that or go and visit the filming locations for Twin Peaks. So that was obviously the highlight of my trip. Everyone who listens to the Terror Table knows I'm a Lynch stan. I love Twin Peaks specifically.
Big time.
Is my favorite. That's my favorite of his material. And it was just awesome, man. I went to the Double R Diner, which is actually known as Tweety's Cafe, and I had a breakfast, and I was like, well, God, I gotta have cherry pie. And it's funny, I don't like cherries, and I'm not a pie guy. So I was like,
how are you not
cherry
a pie
pie
guy?
hits
What
different, especially with a cup of coffee.
What did pie ever do to you? What is it? What about it don't you like? I'm like offended.
I'm not team Jason Biggs. Let's put it that way.
So someone told me a long time ago, they were like, are you pie or cake guy? And at the time I was like, I'm more of a cake guy. They said, look, here's the thing. You can eat a piece of pie by yourself and it's fine. If you're eating a piece of cake by yourself, you're at rock bottom. And I said,
great quote.
You were like, that's some real shit.
I wish
That
I
is
could go
some
back
real
in time
shit.
and make that my high school yearbook quote. That would have been great. But yeah, no, like I'm not really a pie. I'm not, and I just specifically I don't like cherries. I never have. But that's like what is always served in Twin Peaks, famously. Specifically, David Lynch would go in and get a slice of cherry pie and a cup of damn fine coffee. And it was funny. I almost got out of there without getting pie. But then I was like, I asked for I wanted to buy one of the Double R mugs, like just to take home with me. So I go up and they clearly go, oh, this guy's a Twin Peaks fan. And then the person upsold me. He basically acted. He's like, are you not gonna have pie? I was like, oh man, I'm full. Like I just had breakfast. He's like, do you not like Twin Peaks?
Oh my God, he challenged. He challenged your fandom.
Slit you into that one.
Yeah, he upsold me hard, and I was like, you know what? God damn it, I'm gonna get it.
You're not gonna leave without pie, are you? Not like a true Twin Peaks fan would do anything like that.
I'm a pie guy now. I'm specifically a cherry pie guy.
Well,
that was one of the best pieces of pie I've ever had in my life. And there was like
let's go eat it. Let's go to a pie eating contest, and you can try different flavors. You can really
let's jump right in the deep end, Mitch.
Yeah.
Cherry pie is the only pie as far as I'm concerned. So I think you're good.
What?
No pecan pie.
Pecan pie is good.
So
good pecan's decent, pumpkin pie is decent, but like after I had cherry pie, I'm just like, I don't ever want to go back to any other pie.
banana cream,
dude. Icebox lemon pie.
No. Well, now you just
Icebox lemon pie, dude.
Welcome to the podcast.
Refreshing.
The freshest place on the internet.
It was amazing. And then we went to like the historic waterfall that's right behind the Black Lodge, and it was amazing.
Has anyone ever jumped off of that?
We looked it up afterwards, and yes, a lot of people.
I'm glad that you also like that's the information I need.
That was Arden's thing. He was like, man, he's like, do you think anyone's fallen off that or jumped off it? I'm like, that there has to be an answer out there for that. And he's like, oh boy, so many people have died on that cliff.
On purpose?
I think a couple on purpose and a couple not.
Oh.
Either way, moral of the story is it was a great trip. I highly recommend visiting the Tweety's Cafe in North Bend if you're ever in that area. And like all those filming locations are within a 5-minute drive around there. So that was awesome. Also shout out our close personal friend of the show, Eduardo Sanchez. We got to see his video camera from the Blair Witch Project was in that museum.
Yeah.
That was very cool for me.
We're friends with him. If you guys didn't
close
know.
friends, we know.
Well, whenever you talk to him next time, tell him Hayden said, "Hey."
Yeah, you were like, you've got the biggest Twin Peaks fan on here, the biggest Blair Witch fan. You are just pressing all of Hayden's buttons right now.
Yeah, my buttons are all lit.
Hayden, in case you're wondering, Eduardo Sanchez is not circumcised.
Yeah.
Oh. What?
You heard it here first.
He told me he was. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Word on the
He's a-
street.
I guess Eduardo Sanchez is a damn liar.
But yeah, it was awesome. I highly recommend checking it. That was my first time in Seattle, and just wanted
That's
to
awesome,
go
man.
take the trip because
And
it's like a
last time.
2-hour drive from Vancouver. So
But did you go to the cafe from Frasier?
we did not. We actually found out on the way back that Frasier was filmed there, and I'm like, well, of course it was, because the Space Needles and a bunch of the cuts. I haven't seen Frasier in years.
Can I just add, like, people watched Frasier?
Believe it or not,
Oh man, people love Frasier.
I never.
You didn't toss salad or scramble eggs while you were
No, couldn't do
there?
it.
Dude, come
Hayden
on.
talked me into watching it about a year ago, and I blasted through like
Great.
5 seasons in a couple months.
I blasted through
It's a
those
fun
fuckers.
show.
Yes, so some of my favorite comedians that like talking on podcasts are huge fans of Frasier, and they say it just gets better with age.
Dude,
Um,
Frasier's so good.
Yeah, so I plan on
Maybe
going
it's
back.
like Seinfeld. Like, I feel like I grew into that
Well,
show.
Oh,
Seinfeld's the best.
I mean, Seinfeld's the tops. You can't beat it. Yeah.
It is. I love, but I remember as a kid, fuck, this is such a tangent. I remember like I got tricked. Thank God I'm a lazy piece of shit, because that's how I got into Seinfeld, is that it was like the only thing that was on, and it, rather
Uh-huh.
than
Yes,
going out and doing
yes.
something else, I just sat there and watched it. I'm like, oh, and that turned out to be
It's so
amazing.
good.
So I was like,
Daytime TV had few options, but like you always knew Seinfeld was there.
remember calling in sick for school, or like faking sick for school, and
Yeah.
all that's on is Judge Judy
Or just for last reruns.
just for last year. Oh my God, that's Canadian.
I don't know.
if this
I
is
think
all
that's a Canadian
shit.
thing. You guys probably.
I've never heard
don't-
of that.
Just for laughs, is that like America's Funniest Home Videos? or some
No,
shit?
it's just stand-up comedy from a Montreal Fest, and they have probably like 20 hours of it, and they
Oh my
chop it
God.
up and play it again and again and again, and it's all from like
They're
2001.
still, yeah, and they're still doing it. Like actually, Bobby Lee is coming here with Just for Laughs, so I plan on going to that. I want to see it. But yeah, that was my trip. Saw the screen accurate or screen used xenomorph
Oh.
from Alien as well. So that was
That's
very
pretty
cool.
fucking tight.
That sounds like a great trip, honestly.
Oh yeah.
That is a great trip.
Yeah, so Seattle turns out positive review. I like
Right.
Seattle. It's fun.
Hell yeah.
But
Not,
yeah,
a,
that's
not a great place to blow your brains out.
oh my God. I guess I opened this up. Yeah, no, that's the other thing. We just really, I guess Arden was just looking up facts about Seattle, and like it's like a serial killer capital of the world too. Like so many serial killers come from there. And,
That would explain why the killing was there.
yeah.
That show The Killing was based there.
Yeah, it's what's funny though is The Killing was filmed in Vancouver, but historically they famously always film in Vancouver and say it's Seattle, because why would you say that that story takes place in Canada? That's just tomfoolery.
Silly. Like, how do you even say Vancouver?
Vancouver, look, here's the thing. I was a big X-Files fan growing
There you
up.
go.
And when they went to LA, it just did not feel the same.
Mhm.
The Pacific Northwest, specifically Vancouver, has such a nice feel
Yeah.
that it's like,
I
and
agree.
that's why like the pilot of Twin Peaks and and season 3, and specifically the establishing shots that they actually shot up there, they just hit so different than the rest of the show is shot in California. It just
Yeah.
doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, agreed. Did you know that the reason X-Files moved to LA is because David Duchovny refused to, he's like, I'm not filming in Vancouver again. He just fucking
Oh
hated
my
Vancouver so much.
David, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, so that was my fun shenanigans. Mark, do you want to hit us with something you've seen?
I'll hit up a little something. I just got that sexy new Ju-on box set from Arrow in. That's
Was somebody Black Friday
no,
shopping?
that one was not. That was a pre-order, so that was not up for any of those deals. I just spent all the money on
Okay.
that because that's one of those. I've been waiting for those to be boxed up together. Kind of perfect timing because I watched Ju-on the Curse, which is the first it's the first DTV Ju-on movie. It's the first feature length Takashi Shimizu did. Ju-on the Curse, actually, first time I saw that movie was the week that Crimson Peak came out. So it was kind of perfect timing to watch it this week. I get to talk about it when I'm talking.
This is very specific that you remember these things.
Listen, I have a very weird memory when it comes to movies. I don't know how, but I remember the most random stuff. Anyway.
I love that. You could like write a sitcom like that, like all what you were doing exactly when movies came out.
I'm the same way. I remember like where I was sitting for the Passion of the Christ, but I don't remember what I did yesterday.
Well, Mitch, it was the Passion of the Christ. Come on.
That's true. It was such a weird pull. I don't know why I went there.
It's just been on your mind. Whatever.
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
close. It's close to his birthday. You know,
Yeah.
big homie's birthday.
Oh my god. Didn't mean to cut you off there, Mark.
I don't have too much to say. Like it's basically a shot on video version of Ju-on the Grudge. It's lo-fi, a lot of static camera shots, very, very low budget. There's a truly like there is a terrible shot of what someone without their jaw that was done a lot better in Ju-on the Grudge, but it's still such a creepy little movie that in spite of its flaws, I kind of love it. And it's like its first time getting a home video release, I think, or outside of Japan.
What year was this released again?
It was like 2000. So basically the two Ju-on the Curse movies came out in 2000. Then I think Ju-on the Grudge came out in 2002. And then the American Grudge came out in 2004. So they fast tracked those things.
Yeah.
Are you telling me they pulled a Ty West and they released both of them in the same year?
Wild.
Wait.
These madmen.
the hell?
Question for you though. You mentioned the jaw thing. That's all I remember from the American Grudge. Is that like the same thing? Like, is it just the same effect, but probably done a little better?
It's I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like they just drew over that part of the frame. They just like they drew on this woman to make it look like she was missing her jaw. It's truly something else.
Is it like goofy or is it unsettling?
It's goofy. It is. What's funny, it's a very unsettling moment because he's good at tension and dread, and like he kind of had that from the get-go. And then in the middle of this very creepy sequence, it cuts to that, and it's supposed to be this shocking reveal. And it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, it sucks when that stuff doesn't hold up. I wonder if it did at the time, because I know just similarly, because it came out around this time, was a movie that we watched recently, The Eye. Like there's so many amazing sequences in that movie that like are actually genuinely creepy, but you could just tell that technology wasn't there yet. But they still managed to pull it off with just tone.
Yeah, that's I see. I'm a big J horror fan because a lot of them are like they are very quiet movies that kind of rely on dread, and I eat that stuff up.
Yeah.
So I am thrilled to have this box set, and I love getting to rewatch that one. That's Ju-on the Curse.
Sweet. Ju-on the Curse now on Arrow Video.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I should mention most like video nerds know this, but it's a UK only release. So
Mark just got a fancy region free player.
I did. I upgraded to a region free player mainly for this box set.
That's some commitment, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do that, but I just like I have so many. I have been lucky enough that I haven't had to have too many movies that are like not region blocked or anything like that. But I do know I have a copy of the American Werewolf in London porn parody.
What is it called?
Always a classic.
I honestly don't even know. It's still wrapped. It was given to me as a gift from a friend, but it was like, oh, it's region blocked, so I can't even watch it even if I wanted to. So now
American Werewolf in
London. Oh no, I'm pretty sure it's nothing creative either.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure there's like a setting for your like PlayStation that you can switch your region.
you can only do it a certain number of times, though. I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the caveat.
Did they just call it the same thing in American Werewolf in London, and London is just the name of the girl that the werewolf bangs?
That would make way. I don't know why I didn't piece that
Starring
together.
London Keys, dude. There you go. There you go.
All right, we got the inside
I can't
knowledge
believe I
on
didn't
this
think
now.
of that. That's absolutely what the joke is, I'm sure, in the title. I didn't even piece that together. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
This isn't a joke. This is a porno. These people all love each other very much.
Oh, so okay. Hayden, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
There's a few I could choose from, but I know there's one specifically that I still need to talk about, and it could lead pretty well or pretty nicely into Crimson Peak. So, how much time do you want to devote to the pre-Crimson Peak?
We're gonna have lots. Let's do a different one than that one, and then we'll pass it
Okay.
back to you before we go into the main feature.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, there's a few different ones I could choose from, but I guess I'll choose the movie that's rather new. Have y'all ever heard of this movie called The History of the Occult?
Right, you were mentioning it to me, but I actually haven't seen it.
It's a Spanish language movie. It came out. Letterbox says 2020, but it wasn't readily. I think it played festivals or something, but it just finally got dropped. It's finally available to watch in North America on a Screambox. That really janky.
Shout out
Shout out the
Screambox.
box.
Terrifier 2, baby.
I am a dumbass, and we programmed this movie at the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival a couple years ago. That's where I've heard about.
I was gonna say it sounded really
Oh,
familiar.
A couple
Okay,
years ago,
so-
so this one's kind of been waiting a while to come out then.
I think it was during COVID. I think this was because we were historically the only festival that was running in person during the pandemic.
Dude, represent.
But
Awesome.
the
We
best
said
part
fuck
about it
it.
is that the only people that were there were the people who were putting it on, and we're all like so far, like everyone there is like the furthest thing from anti-vax or anti-COVID, and it's like,
Yeah,
so it was
yeah.
like we had a giant theater and we were all sitting like far apart. Yeah, sure, we'd seen most of the movies when we were programming them, but it still was just nice seeing movies in the theater during a very dark time. But okay, History
That's
of the
cool.
Occult.
Did you get to watch it?
I can't remember. I don't think I did see it. I don't think this is one that I saw.
Okay, so I'll try and jog your memory. It's in black and white. It's Spanish language. It
Yes, I
is
have
a
seen it. Yes.
yes. It's like it's like a political conspiracy thriller mixed with the other movie I'm going to mention later, Ghost Watch, sort of. So it's like it's very cool. It all takes place over it basically in like real time. Over the course of like a little bit over an hour. It's the last show in this broadcast of this very famous investigative reporter type show, sort of like 60 Minutes or something,
Mhm.
but for I can't remember whichever country this takes place in. And they've been doing an investigative report over the president's alleged ties to like this cult, and their funding has been pulled, the show's getting shut down, but through the support of a not exactly anonymous, but this like suspicious group, they've been giving the funding to finish out their investigation on the last night that they can. And of course it's aligning to some sort of event that's going to happen at the very end of the broadcast. And so you're following the in studio interview of this guy who said he knew and kind of made the president who he was, who has now been like excommunicated from the cult. And you're also following the journalists and the producers of the show who are hiding out in an apartment, who are trying to do a little investigation of their own. Now, my attention span is not what it used to be, so I was kind of having a hard time catching up with the plot of it because it doesn't hold your hand at all.
Were you
But
sleeping?
No, I was not. Buzi?
You have a track
I
record,
was
my
not
guy.
sleeping. I was not sleeping during this one because I had been looking forward to it.
Are you sleeping right now, Hayden? I have 100% seen this movie, and I remember feeling the same way where I was like, I don't really know it because it moves quick, like with the dialogue,
Yes.
and there's a bit of a cultural divide because I think it's Argentinian. I could be wrong, but
Yes, I think it is Argentinian. So there is a divide, and I don't know who's responsible for the subtitles. I don't know if it's the actual subtitles that came with the movie or if Screambox, the box.
It screams.
Got to shout out the box.
Show the box.
I don't know if they screwed up the subtitles, but
wouldn't do
there
that.
are a lot of weird discrepancies and typos and shit that made it even more confusing trying to figure out what was going on. However, the movie is insanely compelling. Like the plot is really compelling when you know what's going on. And I love conspiracy thrillers. I love horror movies. I love the occult. So I was all in on it. I don't want to mention anything else about it because I feel like I've already probably given too much away, but it is a really cool little movie and you can finally watch it now.
Yeah.
If you
Shout out
subscribe to
Screambox.
Yeah, another one that we don't
Scream.
have in Canada, but hopefully it's coming soon. 'Cause yeah, I want to see this one again because now and I'm looking at the IMDb. I remember really liking it by the time the credits rolled. But I had a
Yes.
similar experience where I was like, and I remember thinking the same thing. I thought about Ghostwatch while I was watching it, but
Yeah,
I need
so-
to check this out then, because Ghostwatch is a great buzzword for me.
this was a Jay Luke choice. I'm pretty sure he
Shout
pulled
out
for this
homie
one.
J. Luke.
Yeah, so cool. Well, yeah, so it's History of the Occult, which you can see on Screenbox. Awesome, Hayden. Buzi, do you want to hit us with one?
That's all I got for this
All
week.
you
my
got?
guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, come
Yeah,
through, buddy.
that's all
Make
I
one up.
got.
Make one up.
I watched the new Park Chan-wook Decision to Leave. That's not a horror movie.
I saw that
but,
too.
You know, there's some horrific things in that movie that
now come on, Mark. You watched the Rebecca McKendry anthology movie, All the Creatures
Listen,
Were Stirring.
Did you watch that?
I'm trying to. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Stop
my
ruining his positivity here.
This was another Hayden sleep watch. We watched it right after Christmas, Bloody Christmas, and
Ghost Watch, more like Sleep Watch.
yeah,
Mark, I'm
fine.
starting to think that you're Hayden's like white noise machine. Like you guys start watching movies together and he just goes to sleep and it's very comforting
Honestly,
for him.
It's actually one or the other. Either he falls asleep or I fall asleep.
That's
Yeah, you
true
guys are
friendship.
cute.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I don't, what do you want me to talk about? Decision to Leave or All the Creatures Were Stirring?
All the creatures. I want to hear this.
Okay, that's good because that's more appropriate for this.
I want to hear about these creatures.
Look, All the Creatures Were Stirring. It's not good. It's an anthology. It's comprising of like 4 segments and a wraparound, and only one of them I would say is good. There's like a 3-star segment mixed in with a bunch of 1-star segments. I don't want to be overly mean, but I think it's pretty incompetently made. Like they have Constance Wu from Crazy Rich Asians in one segment, and I feel like the entire budget went to getting her to be part of the cast.
Yeah, this was.
Doctors don't always make the best directors.
I still haven't seen Glorious, but I've heard Glorious is awesome.
Well, you're not talking to the right person to get that opinion. That's all I'll say.
Now, okay, I will say this. I was not a big fan of Glorious, but the direction really wasn't the problem with me. Or it wasn't the biggest problem for me with that movie. The writing for that one was I just wasn't a fan. But
That's very well. I like that we watched Hayden plant a trap for Mark to walk into.
He does this all the time. He did it on Film Feast. He'll probably do it again on whenever we do the top 10 episode in a few weeks.
yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
We know too
I like
much
that you
about
admit
each
it
other.
too. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess before we get into Crimson Peak, let's end off with a little review on a movie that I know all of us are actually, I don't know about Mark, but I know that Buzi and I are huge fans of Ghostwatch.
Hell yeah.
So
Haven't seen it.
We name dropped it earlier, and the entire reason I bring it up is because out of nowhere, a few weeks ago, I saw on Amazon this link go up for Ghostwatch coming out to Blu-ray, and I mean, you guys are familiar with it. This has been one of the hardest movies to find.
Yes.
For a long time, and it disappeared off the internet entirely a few years ago. Shudder took it off.
Yeah,
I don't know about Canada. Yeah, I don't know about Canada, but I couldn't find it to watch anywhere over here. And unless you maybe wanted to illegally download it or something, torrent it or something. But I finally saw that it popped up on Amazon. Was not expecting anything from it because I didn't know the company that was putting it out. So I was like, it'll probably be some cheapo transfer on a Blu-ray disc, but I'll get it. It's only $20. And this thing is amazing. It's like an Arrow release. It's got
Really?
it's got this, yeah, it's got the script. It's got a booklet filled with like essays and stuff. It's got these cool little collectible cards. It's got an amazing making of bonus feature.
So there's
really
some
good
like legit
commentaries.
love put into this.
Yes, and yeah, absolutely. And so I popped in the actual movie earlier to rewatch it because it's been a while since I've seen it, and man, it is just an absolute gem. Like it is
Yeah.
such. I think it's like a masterpiece.
Yeah, this is one of those. Actually, there's been quite a few of these, but one of the many films that Mitch got me onto. And yeah, I just remember after watching it for the first time, it's like, okay, this is how you create tension. This is how you actually scare people. This is great.
And it wasn't even really, that's the joyous part about it too, is it wasn't even really meant to have the effect that it had. Like it was
Mhm.
real journalists and like news reporters doing a Halloween special and they took the joke so fucking far, and I appreciate that kind of hustle. Because yeah,
So
the aftermath of that movie is insane. Like a kid killed himself because he was so scared.
What?
Because yeah, that actually happened. It was pretty wild because at the time, what year was this? Was this 93?
93.
Yeah, because
it was 93, and it had a War of the Worlds effect.
totally. Yeah, they aired it on the
Oh my
BBC it went into every single household that had BBC, and people are watching it, and it's essentially The Conjuring 2, but real. And
Yeah, it's like the infield poltergeist, but
yeah,
you know, updated 90s, and it's got Michael Parkins in it. It's got like these, I mean, famous for Britain, these like famous newscasters who everyone knew and loved. Just like it'd be like if knew and loved. I was gonna say Matt Lauer, but it'd be like if it would be like if all these like I'm trying to think of someone.
Jimmy
Who do people
Kimmel.
love? It'd be like if Al Roker was did like a Halloween special.
Who are these people you're pulling out? Fucking say
This is
Jimmy
American
Fallon
shit.
and move
Oh.
on.
Jimmy Fallon's not a news guy. He sucks.
Yeah.
He
Well,
does
they are
news
great, but-
adjacent things. Like
Edward
I
R.
guess-
Murrow.
We
Walter Cronkite.
Yes.
No, but okay. But Stephen Volk, who wrote it, he talks a lot on the documentary, and apparently, Mitch, this was written to be a 6-hour event. So it was going to be like an hour a night.
Oh my god.
And then they didn't have the budget for it. So they were like, okay, let's just scrap the first 5 and only do the last hour. And everything that we wrote for the other 5 will just be like the lore and backstory that we'll just hint at in that final hour. And to me, that is a key to making this as like interesting as it is. Because the same thing with the Blair Witch. They thought out this really complex lore, and then they only hint at it and let you be the investigator.
No, thank God they didn't make the 6, because also the amount of viewers would have been substantially less to get through a full 6-part series of it and everything. And it works just so well as like an hour special. That's like, and I know it's like it's clearly it's fake, but it does feel it has that authenticity to it. That I remember that's one of the rare movies that actually really, and I don't even believe in. I don't want to blow our load too early here, but I'm a skeptic when it comes to ghosts and the paranormal and everything. That movie still creeped the shit out of me when I saw it.
It's super scary.
It's so good.
And the fact that it's still effective today when you're watching it, like all the concepts and the way that they go about things, it doesn't feel corny. It still feels like an event that you're a part of.
And it does feel like, I know, because I've recommended it to a lot of people, and across the board, every single one of them has become a fan of it by the end of it. But I do know I had a few friends that were like, it was pretty dry at the beginning, and it's like, because it's just it's quite dated. It's from the 90s, and it's from the BBC. It's a perspective that we're not used to. And but I think that movie, just like by the end of it, it just works so well, and it's so creepy.
Did y'all ever see the WNUF Halloween special?
I don't think so. I don't think I did.
Okay, it's made in the style of this. It's like a pastiche. It's sort of like if Joe Bigos did like a Ghost. I'm joking, but it's sort of like if it's like a love letter to Ghost Watch, sort of, because it's made to be an artifact from the 80s that someone found and like on like a taped VHS, but it was made in like the 2000s and or maybe 2014 or something. But it is like they entirely made this 80s broadcast Halloween special, and then they even made fictional 80s commercials that are like fake cereal commercials and fake toy commercials and stuff like that. It's really cool. It does feel authentic. However, it has its tongue in its cheek, so it doesn't feel quite as authentic as Ghostwatch, because Ghostwatch plays it completely straight. And so I would recommend the WNUF Halloween special next Halloween, Mitch and Buzi, if y'all want to check that out, because it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What year is that?
I'll have to look it up. I think
You said sometime in the 2000s.
Let me see.
I need to watch both of these.
Have you not seen Ghostwatch yet, Mark?
I haven't.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what you think of it. It's such a creative, fun movie,
It's
and
a
especially
gem.
it just gets better knowing, like, obviously I'm not saying that it was good that someone killed himself. What I meant by that is that there was a lot of like it really got people, like
That's how real it feels.
It screwed up, like it shut their phone lines down because people were calling in so concerned because they couldn't believe what they were showing on TV, and like they thought it was real. And like I just can't imagine, like that's the kind of thing that would have scarred me beyond repair if I would have seen that on TV when I was younger. Like I don't know, it's crazy,
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So it was WNUF was 2013. The same guy, Chris LaMartina, just made the Out There Halloween mega tape that came out this year. I haven't seen that one, but
cool.
if it's anything like the last one, it'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm adding this because the first time you said it, I thought you said WWF Halloween special, and I was like, where are we going with this with Ghostwatch?
And I thought you said the UHF special. Weird Al Yankovic.
The WWE UHF special.
Awesome. Okay, well, yeah, that's a quick little review on Ghostwatch. Do you guys want to talk about some other ghosts in the world of Guillermo del Toro?
Ones that leave their
Speak
impressions.
Oh man, I didn't watch The Devil's Backbone.
Oh, you've seen it though.
I watched because actually I haven't seen Devil's Backbone.
Oh, that's my second favorite game.
I meant to like catch up on all the Del Toro that I hadn't seen for this episode, and work's just been so crazy I didn't have time. But I've had that like Criterion free pack of that, Kronos and Pan's Labyrinth. But I still haven't gotten around to those other two, just Pan's.
Oh yeah, no, but Pan, yeah. Love Guillermo del Toro, but
it's okay if you
he's
just
amazing.
watch Mimic. It's okay. Like sometimes you just watch
Mimic. I am a Mimic fan, so
I'm a Mimic
right
stan, big time.
I knew you guys.
My man.
All right,
Never seen the Mimics.
Okay, well,
you like bugs there, buddy?
Yes.
We're gonna take a quick little break here, and then we'll be back to discuss Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak.
Tube shrimp.
Poop shrimp.
All right, and welcome to our main feature presentation, where we're going to be discussing Hayden and Mark's choice of the week, Crimson Peak, written and directed by Guillermo del Toro. This movie came out in 2015. I remember that because this was right near the end of Sons of Anarchy, I think. And this was when Hollywood was trying to make Charlie Hunnam happen. And
you're totally right. That
yeah.
was when they were like, "Oh yeah, he's
well,
a
I guess
star."
Pacific Rim was before this too, though, and he was
give
in
up that fight, Hollywood. That's a good fight.
Yeah, so yeah, we've talked a lot about Guillermo del Toro's films on the show. I don't think we definitely have not talked at length about Crimson Peak, so I was very happy when you came up with the suggestion. I do have to say this does trump my Dracula Dead and Loving It pick, but I still wanted to do that on the show at some point.
Yeah, not now.
Yeah, not now.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. You go movie.
It's a good move.
Okay. All right, let's lead off. I'm gonna pass it off to Mark here first, because you, out of everyone, are the one I know the least amount about your history with this movie and like what your general thoughts are. So Mark, let's just take it away.
Well, I should point out, you said written and directed by Guillermo del Toro. We should throw in, it was co-written by Matthew Robbins, who also co-wrote
Mimic.
He co-wrote Mimic, and one I'm very fond of, he co-wrote with del Toro the Don't Be Afraid of the Dark remake, which del Toro didn't direct, but it feels very much like a movie he directed. I think that
it's got that palette.
Yeah, which was
anyway,
written and directed by a Saskatoon boy too. Sorry.
Ooh. So I'm lost right now.
That's because I cut you off a bunch.
I'm no stranger to that. Cut me off all you want. Hayden does it all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm big Mimic fan, big Don't Be Afraid of the Dark fan.
Hell yeah.
Huge Crimson Peak fan. It's my favorite del Toro film. That's hot take number one for the night. I'm sure the first of many. Always been a big del Toro fan. So when I heard this was coming out, I was so excited, even though I'm not a big period piece guy. Like, the further you get away, I'd say like before the 1970s, the further you get away from that, like, you have to work harder to get me interested in your movie. But if it's del Toro directing it, of course I'm going to be happy. And if
you telling me you didn't like 1917?
I want to watch 1917.
You liked it better in 1916, is what he's saying.
Oh God. Okay.
You completely derailed him on that.
Yeah. So like, you're generally like, are you generally a fan of ghost tales? Because this is it's a gothic
whimsical
romance.
Yeah.
So
gothic romantic ghost tale.
I am a big fan of ghost stories. So you throw a ghost into a movie, unless it's just, Casey Affleck wearing a sheet over him, I am on board for your movie. Anyway,
no love for Ghost Story. Hey,
haven't seen it. I'll probably like it
Casey
when I watch
Affleck.
Speaking of pie.
Oh right, there's like a
Isn't he,
15-minute scene of eating pie.
Isn't he canceled? Isn't he one of the many canceled stars?
He's one of them, yeah. But
He's
yeah,
one.
I think I remember
Canceled.
you telling me something about that.
yeah, I used to keep a close tally on everyone.
You were really good for that.
I honestly took a step back when Daniel Epler called me out, being like, Mitch Oliver is obsessed with everything wrong that people have done in their lives. And I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't a good.
We say Matt is the hound for justice, but I think Mitch is the
No,
hound for
it's
justice.
I liked it just because I would be like, oh, I really like this person. What have they been up to lately? And Mitch is like, oh, they beat the shit out of somebody and Hollywood won't cast them or anything. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Why I haven't seen that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a real
You're a real Wikipedia.
the life of the party is what they say.
I know how it feels to be called out by Daniel. He recently called me out for like going to my notes at the end of every episode to see if I have anything else to say. So I will not be doing that tonight, Daniel.
Man.
Daniel's never said one wrong word against me. So
Yeah.
It seems because you're a perfect human being, and you're the perfect human being who did bring up that you suggested Crimson Peak. So why is that, Hayden? Why did you want to talk about this one?
well, first, I want to establish how do we all do any of us? I want to establish each and every one of us thoughts on ghosts themselves. Do we believe? Yes, no, maybe.
Ooh.
I'm a hard
Mitch.
no, but
Mitch I thought you said you're a skeptic.
yeah, I am.
Are you in the middle or
That's
what?
my nice way of saying grow up, you fucking fools.
I'm a soft no.
Like
You know what? I'm
want to
down with
believe.
the ghosts. I think
I love
think
ghosts.
there's got to be something to it.
Yeah, I do love ghosts, and I love Casey Affleck as a ghost. Or I don't even know if that's. It's been so long since I've seen that.
That's Mitch's way of saying he'll love Casey Affleck when he dies.
Yeah, no, I generally I love ghost tales as well, ghost stories. Some of my favorite horror movies are supernatural horror movies. That's, funnily enough, and I know I say it every time, I'm not going to keep talking about my own movie, but gothic films and ghosts, and honestly, even another one we talked about is J-horror, which if you watch the Druid's Hand trailer, you see all three of those things. And it is that those are just general things that I like. I like the gothic feel, the aesthetic. I love the idea of a presence that you have no control over, that there's nothing that you can do to prevent them. And I mean, unless you have a ectoplasm gun or whatever is in Ghostbusters. But yeah, I'm a fan. Buzi, what about you?
I already said I believe in ghosts.
Yeah, do you like
I'm
ghost
also
movies?
a big
We're
fan.
kinda
I'm
like-
a big. I thought we were asking just if we believed in ghosts, but I'm also a big fan of ghost movies. I think that they, there is something that isn't malleable or anything, something not physical that can harm you is always a cool story to be told.
Yeah. Mark, do you believe?
I don't believe. I'm open to it though. If I ever see enough evidence, I'll be like, okay, I believe now.
If you ever saw like a ghost crossing the street, you're like, okay, I'm good.
I should say I want to believe.
Yeah,
because I think it would be cool if that stuff was real. But I mean,
it'd be less depressing if you could think about, maybe something else after all this. But then at the same time, it's like that could be more depressing. Like, you're gonna tell me that I got to do more of this shit after I die?
I gotta do more.
like,
Could
if
you
I
imagine
was,
I just want to sleep.
You just spend the rest of your time just like stuck in a Walmart parking lot, so you have to watch as they slowly update.
I mean, I think, would that be better or worse than being stuck in Allerdale Hall watching?
Hold on. We're not there yet.
Oh yeah, I guess
being stuck in Allerdale Hall would be pretty awesome.
I feel like you'd get.
That place is cool,
I
man.
feel like you get tired of it after a little while, especially with those people.
No, all right, we will get to that because they're sexy. What are you talking about? How do you not want to be stuck there? Anyway, all right. So my thoughts on ghosts. In the daytime, I'm a Mitch. I'm a skeptic. However, I'm also a Mark in that I want to believe. But at nighttime, I'm a Buzi. As soon as the sun goes down, I believe in everything. I'm very scared of anything.
Yeah.
So,
once the sun goes down, no rules apply anymore. Things can do whatever.
No rules apply.
Yeah,
I have no strength in my worldview and the convictions of my worldview.
All the creatures
and
will
I will be honest.
Yeah, you're
even as this, huh?
I was gonna say, as soon as the sun goes down, you're like easily corrupted.
So easily. Like every road I come to is a crossroads, and I'm always bargaining for my soul. But I will say this. I had, as much as I want to believe, and I'm always looking for these things that, that can't be explained, because whatever. I would find comfort in the things we can't explain. I don't know why. But I will say this, even as a skeptic, I have experienced a few things that I genuinely have no explanation for. None of them are very particularly big or dramatic. They could be anything, but in the moment I was like, I don't know what that was. I don't necessarily think they're ghosts or anything, but just a handful of very strange things that have happened. So to make the world more interesting, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, sure, I believe in ghosts. So I think it basically gets down to, I want to believe in ghosts more than anything.
Yeah,
I love that.
But I love the concept of ghosts. Like, I find them an endlessly fascinating subject. Anytime I travel, I go on whatever local haunted tour they have, because I always find the haunted history of
You're
places
that
very
guy. That's
interesting.
amazing. What about serial killers?
Yes.
Are you the guy who will do the serial killer things?
Serial killers I'm less interested in, because I find like the murderinos and the true crime subculture a little disturbing sometimes. I still find it interesting, but I find the paranormal stuff more interesting because it's a weird way that like local communities catalog their history, and it also makes you realize just how morbid everyone is, because everyone has a ghost story, even if they don't believe in ghost stories, which means they like talking about them.
Mhm.
And I find that interesting. And the reason, I don't mean to monopolize anything, but I just want to say the reason I wanted us to talk about Crimson Peak is because before Halloween was popularized, Christmas was the time of year that everyone told ghost stories. It was a very big tradition before the 1900s for people to tell ghost stories in front of the fire. And like, we should bring that back. That's all I'm saying.
This guy with his knowledge of the history of the occult, it always boggles my mind how he
I
just
love
pulls
that.
this stuff up.
Hey, I've seen the movie, The History of the Occult,
Yeah.
so
I love it. I'm
Yeah.
always shocked how he just pulls these facts out of the air.
He clearly just yearns for a time of fire and storytelling in person. Like this must be
Yes.
like this must be a side effect of COVID. I think we yearn
Yeah.
to return to the caves.
Yes.
long COVID. I nap during movies, and I long to return to the caves.
Yes. And question for all of you: do we think that the ghost of Stanley Kubrick is terrorizing Greta Gerwig right now for that Barbie trailer?
I
I hope he can't rest.
I think he's
One more take.
I think he's too busy. He has just never stopped haunting Peter Hyams, so he hasn't gotten
Right.
around to Mike Flanagan or Greta Gerwig yet.
Yeah.
Is it because Peter Hyams is best friends with O.J. Simpson, or is it because he made 2010?
Or is
Oh my god, maybe it's the latter. Or maybe it's the former.
I did not know about the Peter Hyams OJ correlation.
Neither did I.
There's some
Mitch, add it to your list.
another
Hayden has
conspiracy
like
to
a
look at.
OJ friend tracker, and it just shows like who all the people that are friends that are cool with OJ are.
Well, he made a, what is it, Capricorn 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so made that with OJ, and he's the only reason I know they're friends is because he's in that 7-hour ESPN documentary, the 30-30
Yeah.
OJ Simpson thing. That shit was amazing, and they keep cutting back to Peter Hyams. He's like, "My friend is a killer." Like, cut to stuff.
Well, that would explain
It's like,
End of
God
Days.
damn, Peter, what the fuck? Peter's really going through it in that one.
I mean,
Talk about a tangent.
Hey, we're talking about ghosts. We just had a tangent about a maker of ghosts.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's just talk about Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Hayden, I know like we just finished talking about all of our queries about ghosts and everything, but this was a movie that you suggested. What made you want to talk about this one? You clearly are a big fan.
So I can't set this up without talking a little bit about Guillermo, because Guillermo, kind of like Mark said, I kind of feel similarly. I think it's sometimes I feel like I like him more than I like his movies, whatever movie I'm watching of his, because he is just such a compelling guy and very, very thoughtful. Mark, you were trying to watch the commentary, the movie with the commentary, right?
I made it about 4/5 of the way.
And why was Mark?
But at first it was because I was impatient at trying to take notes. But then I actually kind of got over that. But then I had to go to work this morning. And because things didn't work out, I wasn't able to finish it. But it's fascinating listen. Just always full of knowledge, just full of passion about what he's doing. Just a great guy to hear talk about movies and horror.
And
anything, honestly.
Truly, yeah, and I would agree with that. And whenever you hear about directors or filmmakers who put thought, everyone should put thought into every detail of their movie, right? Like Kubrick, people say that about Kubrick. Well, Guillermo backs it up, because I did watch the commentary, and like Mark, I stopped taking notes because I was like, I would just be transcribing everything he says, because everything he says is worth repeating, worth saying in the first place, and it adds so much to what you're watching. Every little detail means so much. And it became a little overwhelming, but it was also just very interesting. And that's why I like him so much, because I genuinely feel like, people say that about Jordan Peele too. He's a very thoughtful filmmaker. Guillermo is kind of like that as well. I just think Guillermo's movies kind of stand on their own, maybe a little bit more than I feel like Jordan Peele's movies do for the most part. But where was it go? Sorry, where was I going with this? Oh, a lot of the times with Guillermo's movies, he says this, he's more a fan of the aesthetic of horror than he is of what he calls the mechanics. So he doesn't really like making horror movies so much as making movies from other genres with horror, aesthetic and feel and vibe to them. And so a lot of the times I'm like, okay, I'm watching Shape of Water and I like a lot of the pieces, but this doesn't really represent what I loved about Creature from the Black Lagoon growing up. It's like, it's sort of some ideas that I maybe would have liked at the time, but it's not really a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie. It's a movie about, love and communists or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And just being different. And like that's what that and just being different in general. And I think that's such a common
just being
thread.
attracted to fish.
Yes.
Yes.
But that's a common thread through all of Guillermo's movies. And like, yeah, not every single one of his movies is a horror movie. I think there's actually very few that you could classify as a straight up horror movie. But the feeling and the presence of horror is always there, but that's not his main focus of his stories. And I think that's what makes his movies always have like an element of the fantastical. But I think Crimson Peak is one that I remember when this came out. Like, I was obviously so excited about it. Pan's Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Devil's Backbone. I like all of Guillermo's catalog, but I only like truly, I'm like you, Hayden, where I like him more than I like his movies even. And that's not saying that he's made even a single bad movie, because I don't think he's ever made a movie that's bad. It's just I feel like it's movies like this where he reaches his greatest. It's movies like Crimson Peak that you feel his greatest strengths in, and I think it's because he's such a compassionate person that it makes like those elements of the story work so much better. Everyone was pissed when this movie came out because it was marketed like a straight up horror movie. And then they found out that it was like actually a gothic romance. But watching it again, this movie's gnarly. Like, there's a lot of brutal violence in this movie. And I remember one of the common criticisms that it's taken, even over the years, I still hear people talk about how the head crushing scene in the bathroom wasn't earned because it was like so abrupt and out of nowhere and like over the top. And the rest of the movie isn't like that. Watching this again, I disagree. Like the last like 45 minutes of this movie is brutally violent. And he gets stabby in this movie. There's lots of stabs.
It's a very I feel like it's a very over the top movie in general, in terms of the
very melodramatic,
the environment, in terms of the emotions. Like, it's a movie where the past is the blood from the past is literally seeping out of the ground around the house. Like, you can't get more over the top than that.
Mm-hmm. It's like just exactly what y'all are saying. Like, these are all little elements that make this. I think this is my favorite Guillermo movie because more often than not, I kind of like the ones he produces a little bit more than the ones he makes. Like, I kind of like you, Mitch. I don't dislike any of his movies. There's a few of them I really love, like a very small few I really love, but like, I love Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, man.
And me too.
I really like Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I like Mama, and so, but with Crimson Peak, even though it wasn't the, because I think it came out around Halloween, even though it wasn't the straight up horror movie that they kind of marketed it as, I also love gothic romance. I love the gothic, and this has enough horror in it to, I'm not going to argue that, oh, this isn't really a horror movie, because I think horror is kind of a flexible genre. But I just think this is like my favorite Guillermo movie. I love the time period. I think it's set during like what they call like the Gilded Age. I kind of mentioned earlier, everybody dresses like a boss. Like, everybody looks so cool. And
the Victorian era.
The Victorian era.
That's because you had like one shirt and one, so everybody looked super fucking cool, but just stunk to high heaven.
Oh yeah. Well, you had like one shirt a week.
Yeah, like you looked fly as fuck from a distance. You got up
know.
close and you smelled like a bathroom.
Edith seems to have one hell of a wardrobe on her. She's always wearing something very stylish and very different.
Well, they're new money because her daddy
That's true.
her daddy was a steel worker. He had rough hands, Mark.
Yeah. And before we continue on, one thing we haven't touched on is Buzi. I actually don't know your takes on Crimson Peak and how you feel about this movie, but take it away.
So this is my second time seeing it. I actually did talk about this on the podcast after I'd watched it the first time. This was years ago though.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I guess just because we all had kind of talked about our Guillermoisms, my favorite Guillermo movie is Mimic, which is not entirely his movie, I understand.
But have you seen the director's cut?
I think I watched that when we originally did the episode. I watched both versions.
I don't know much about the production troubles on that movie, but I know that he is like a staunch defender of like, that is my version of the movie.
Yeah, and I know he still said that he's like there's no world where he would be able to make that. That's what the material that he has that was shot, that he was able to shoot. That's the best he could do with it, and it is a good movie. But I know he was historically just so brutally fucked with on that movie, and like the Weinsteins just did whatever they could to keep him down and make sure he wasn't putting his own cinematic voice in it, because he wasn't Guillermo yet. But that was one of the those guys have done a million stupid things, but limiting a guy like Guillermo is just the dumbest. Like, to me, it's bizarre that we're still living in a world where he needs to fight to get his At the Mountains of Madness movie made.
Yes,
it's like, what are we talking about, you guys? He finally got an Oscar for The Shape of Water, which I don't even consider in his top 5 movies. I still like that movie, but like I love like The Devil's Backbone, Pan's Labyrinth, even Kronos, and
Hellboy 2.
I love the Hellboy movies, and like
it's great.
Yeah, I think his vision, and I'm a hardcore Hellboy fan, like the graphic novel, the comics, and everything. And those movies are nothing. They're so little in common with the actual story of what Mike Mignola did, but he made it his own, and he made it beautiful. But yeah, sorry, Buzi, I totally cut you off.
That's totally okay. I appreciate the passion of it, because like it's not that I don't have passion for Guillermo. It's just if he has something coming out, I'm peripherally aware of it, but I'm not like instantly like, okay, I have to check it out. But mechanically, he is fantastic at what he does, and just does such a great job of like I feel like everything has a little bit of gothic undertones for him. And I love that you guys mentioned Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, because no, he didn't direct it, but he had a hand in it. And that is such an awesome film as well. And you can really feel that in there, that gothicism. And I think that would be a great film to even pair with this film itself, if you wanted to watch something like that back to back, because they have a little bit of these kind of like lineage homes that are a little bit more than there's set up to be originally, which is such a fun idea. And
you hear that, Lindsay? That's a double feature calling out to you.
Yeah, exactly. I keep commenting on the wrong Schlock and Ah sometimes, thinking that she'll answer, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's that other one. Fuck's sakes.
You tweeted a different Schlock and Ah?
There's 2 of them, and she's aware of it. We talked about it on the episode. But I guess just talking a little bit about Crimson Peak, I think Mark, you'd mentioned this a while ago, just kind of talking about the house itself, which I think is such an amazing set piece. It feels like Beauty and the Beast kind of.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and I love that it's a combination of like this gothic reality mixed with like almost an industrialism, and you see like, I think Guillermo really likes like vats and pools of things. That's like his shit, because he likes like dungeons. Because I feel like in this there's like those little dungeons that like the bodies are in that are kind of like seeping, and your characters don't notice at the start. Like,
yeah, when we were talking about being ghosts earlier, I just imagined being like trapped in that house and not being able to travel far from the vat of red clay where my body was dumped, and that just sounds really depressing.
I like swimming, so that wouldn't bother me.
Also, this has like something to do with like I can't remember the main woman's name. Is it Elaine? No,
Edith.
Edith. Yeah, she must have the most like insane coping skills because she's like, my dad died and now I'm living in this mansion that's literally falling into a pit and everything's just cool.
They walk
I
in
don't feel like
and
she's cool during it. I think because she goes mad quick.
She like adapts to living there though. Like the only reason she was down is because she was getting poisoned.
I mean, look, the house is a piece of shit, but it's an amazing piece
Yeah.
of shit. Like, I mean, it's like, okay, so one of my
It's what you'd
favorite
call
aesthetics,
a fixer-upper.
one of my favorite aesthetics ever is in old movies and new movies when they open the doors to some huge estate and leaves just blow all over. I love leaves flowing through mansions. It's a great look. And like, okay, but I do have a
It
question.
stresses me out when I see that. Honest, I think that's like the dadism in me, where I'm like, "Fuck, somebody's got to clean that up."
Yeah, that's how I am too.
But that's the
If I ever see
thing. That's
someone-
the thing. Is like
if there's a pie fight in a movie or a food fight, It Takes Two, the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movie. There's a sloppy Joe fight. Stresses me to high heaven.
I have a question about the leaves in Crimson Peak.
Mhm.
Where are they coming from? Because they're falling through the
They
ceiling.
imported them.
There ain't no tree above that roof.
No.
Maybe he was doing a little bit of greenhousing in his spare time somewhere.
They're too
attic.
busy fixing up the house that all the leaves that blow in from all around the country,
Yeah,
they don't have time to rake them up. So they've just
One groundskeeper who
What-
rakes all
they
the
got
leaves.
too much goo to mine.
wait. They have a groundskeeper?
Yeah, the old man. Remember?
Oh, I forgot about him because there was one point where I was just like, wow, if this were any other period, they would actually have like an entire crew of people working to keep this house up. But it's
Honestly, that was
just
the
the
most
two of them. They can't
unbelievable
even-
part, right?
they
there.
can't even afford one helper. But no, you're right. I forgot about
Yeah,
it.
but they need
They have
someone.
the one groundskeeper who mistakes her for one of his other wives.
They need someone shoveling the snow in the living room there. That's one thing that the house could definitely use.
Also,
yeah.
I don't. Did they ever address like the fact? Did that dog just like piss and shit wherever it wanted in there?
Oh, this is one of my favorite Buziisms, is questioning where the dog shits. I can't remember
It's
what
like-
movie we were watching, but there was something where it's like they're trapped inside with a bunch of dogs. It's like, you're never letting this. We never see the dogs go outside. They're just pooping away.
Wait, did y'all cover Hotel for Dogs?
Oh my god.
Scream 4's Emma Roberts.
Scream
Okay,
4 is
anyway, I just have to say, like, I hope that groundskeeper got good, like a pension or something. Because yeah, having to clean up after that dog plus that entire place is falling apart must be really fucking tough.
and to have Lucille Sharp as your boss.
Oh
Just-
God.
Oh, I would kill
just-
for her to be.
I just want to say
I
she
love her.
has insane.
Love
Watching this a second time, she has insane cardio. The fact that she gets stabbed and can go up and down all those stairs and outrun everybody else is
Oh,
phenomenal.
girl bossing Buzi.
I mean,
Look it up.
She is like a fucking gold medalist in this thing. Like,
How strong was that sink? And she just broke it with the guy's
Yeah.
skull.
Also,
She's amazing.
heavily
I love her.
like
down,
that's the
boy,
other
down.
thing I noticed this time around is how
I'm a Hotel for Dogs.
that whole shot is built like a giallo sequence where you just see the black glove and him or
Yes.
sneaking up
That-
behind him, and
That's
it's
what I'm
shot so
saying.
brilliantly.
I love Guillermo, and he's not saying it from the condescending way that other people will say this isn't a horror movie. He's like, he's got his own specific reasons for like why he thinks this is like why he wouldn't call this a horror movie, but like
mhm.
it's got brutal murder sequences, and a lot of the action is kind of driven by ghosts. Like, this is a horror movie.
Yeah,
It might be a
Well, I
gothic
think-
romance, but this is, I 100% don't buy anyone not calling this a horror movie.
When he says it's not a horror movie, I genuinely think he's trying to be like, look, don't get mad when you see it, and it's not like a boo in your face horror
Mhm.
movie.
yeah,
Like,
which it also
I think
is,
he's
though.
trying to like
The-
I think he's trying to prepare people for what they're about to watch, whereas other people try and just distance themselves from it. They're
I
like,
just-
oh, it's a psychological thriller.
I just
or
have to
something."
say that, like, if you ever do, which was such a fantastic jump scare in this, if you ever do a shot where you have, or a scene where you have scratching at a door and you go to open it and you're like,
Oh.
oh, it's the dog, and then you hear the dog bark, that you're in a horror movie. Nobody's doing that in a
Yes.
fucking comedy. Nobody's doing that in a sci-fi movie. That's some horror shit right there.
Yeah, and like don't even get me
And it
started
was
on all the,
good.
the brutally creepy scenes of the ghost crawling out of the floor and then into
Mhm.
her bedroom.
Oh
and,
my
like,
god.
that's something I want to talk about because Guillermo takes a lot of heat too for his use of visual effects, which I think that his particular brand that we see. I remember Scary Story. I know he didn't direct it, but
That's
Scary Stories to Tell in the
literally
Dark.
that's his aesthetic.
Yeah, I remember people beating up on the Jingle Jangle Man. I can't remember what his actual name is, but I was like, I thought that looked fucking awesome. And then when you watch the behind the
it's
scenes,
awesome.
it's all practical. And it's like even these
Yes.
ghosts, those ghosts are practical, but then they just have like a little portion of her head is green screen so that they can like, hollow it out and
It
everything.
might just be like the aesthetic of how they look that just is
It looks
upsetting
good.
for
It looks good, and that's what annoys. It's like,
and-
does it look real? No, but I don't fucking give a shit. I'm watching a movie, a gothic horror movie.
Yeah.
I'm
If
not
the
expecting-
ghost doesn't look real, it's
Yeah,
not
this
going to throw you
ghost.
off.
I don't know about this ghost.
That ghost doesn't look real.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a real
My
ghost.
concept of what a ghost looks like is not that, so I don't like this movie.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I think that might be a side effect of this like whole like when normies learn like filmmaking vocabulary, right? So like you have all these people who are like they don't like a movie and then they want to like throw a critique onto it that so they'll be like the CGI for the ghosts was so bad. And it's like, okay, you heard a YouTuber talk about CGI for a minute. Like you're not actually watching this thing because the ghosts are practical. They're just like layering them and making them translucent and giving them CGI like floating blood or like clay or whatever.
Mhm.
Like that's it, exactly like you're saying, Mitch. Whenever you really look at these ghosts, they don't look CGI at all.
No, I just think they look beautiful. Like it looks, there's
Yeah.
a beauty to them, and that's something that you see throughout his filmography, and it's like done really, really well in this one. And it's something I also mentioned earlier is that like Guillermo, I feel like Guillermo's one of those guys who always has a passion project. Like for the longest time, I could have sworn Crimson Peak was his passion project, but I know At the Mountains of Madness was also like his biggest one.
Oh, we need that.
We do need
everyone
it.
put that on your Christmas list this year. Power positivity.
But Crimson Peak just totally feels like Guillermo unleashed, and I think that like it feels like such a pure him film, and that's why it
It's
works
him
so well.
doing what he wants to. Yeah, like this is truly what he wants to do, the world he wants to build, and
Yeah.
how he wants to portray these characters. And it's he's having fun with it.
I love that they didn't like, this is a little fact that I found out from just looking, like doing some research on the movie, but not a single piece of that set was retooled from another. Like that's just famously what always happens with films. Like I can't remember. Oh yeah, it was the What We Do in the Shadows. Like when Taika set out to make that movie, they stole a bunch of the wardrobe from the Hobbit movies. And they use that, and like that makes it even funnier like when you watch it. But in Crimson Peak it was all authentic and specifically built just for this movie, and you can feel that because that set is unbelievable. That's like one of the most beautiful sets I've ever seen in my life.
Mhm.
So
The production design is amazing.
Yeah.
we were
And then when you
talking
get to see-
about
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like one of the dumbest pieces of criticism I've ever heard of. Hayden knows where I'm going with this, because we were talking about All the Creatures Were Stirring earlier, and the director of that, Rebecca McKendry, one time on her old podcast Killer POV, she complained about the set because, quote, one of the chairs on set cost more than her entire movie. And that was the whole reason she did not like the movie.
Yeah. No, and that's
She and Mike
That
Mendez
must
have
were
been-
complaining about
that's
that.
the
He
risk
has
you
like
run
a
when you're a podcaster and you want to start making movies. I think about it all the time. I've had so many stupid criticisms about movies that I now look back on. I'm like, fuck me. Like I was an asshole.
I just want to say
It's-
that she's now made herself a rival with a chair. Like she has a rivalry with this fucking chair now.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like you hear a lot of silly criticisms, like not even just that. Like I remember hearing people go on about this as being like style over substance because the story itself is not that complicated. But like that's part of the cinema. Like the story is in the house, the story is in the set design. Like it's all going towards telling the story. It's not. I don't.
It's a classically told story too. Like it's simple to the point, and it makes sense. And then that makes it that opens up a room for idiots to complain about it and think that they're smarter than the movie. And
when there's a very specific subgenre like gothic romance or something, and someone complains that, oh, I've seen this story before, it's like, yeah, you're watching a gothic romance. It's like when somebody complains about like, I knew what the ending of that folk horror movie was going to be before it ended.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because all of these movies are the same movie, but like they're at this point they're made for the people who like those trappings. You find comfort in that familiarity.
Yeah.
So.
No, and they work for a reason. Those story beats work for a reason. That's why they're recycled so many times. And I say recycled with love. That's what movies are. They're just in constant evolution of other stories and ideas, and then they become unique by the person who's making them. And Guillermo is one of the best to do it. So it's like I'd watch that guy. I for one am actually excited for Barbie.
All the Sigma Kings are.
Yes, but I would love to see Guillermo del Toro's Barbie. Like that's what he could. I'm just saying the guy could do anything, and I'd be interested in it. But I also just love that we get to watch Jessica Chastain get yeeted off that balcony because I know you said that you love her, but she's so evil throughout the movie, and I think that's
really is
brilliant.
She's
she's a real wicked witch in this.
Let's talk about
that's why I love her,
because she is a great character.
Yeah,
and the whole time I was watching this,
one.
And exactly, that's part of what I love about her. Like she is so evil, yet there's a humanity to her, and you like. Even when she's doing the most cruel, heinous stuff, like
giving her brother a hand job,
you sense the emotion behind it, and you're like,
yes, like giving her brother a hand job.
So sad, and what a hand job.
The best part is on the commentary. Guillermo's like, he's like, in contrast with the scene where Edith and Thomas have sex. This scene with Thomas and Jessica Chastain is not meant to be sexy. It's supposed to be scary. And I was like, well, you failed, Guillermo, because
I'm too hot mofos.
Yeah. It's sexy as hell. It's Jessica Chastain
and Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, they're two of the most beautiful people alive.
I have a question to propose. Mitch, you kind of like got me thinking on this because of the Charlie Hunnam factor and where we're in society. Do you feel like this movie got review bombed by Sons of Anarchy fans who came over dragging their knuckles?
Honestly, that's a very that's you might
Sons of Anarchy fans don't know how to comment on like reviews.
Sons of Anarchy fans don't know how to watch movies, or else Pacific Rim would have done better over here. That movie made all its money in China. That movie is that's something I want to talk about, because they kind of reminded me like Pacific Rim and Crimson Peak could not be more different. That's part of what's so awesome about Guillermo. But they're both kind of similar in that
Jaegers.
Like I like Charlie Hunnam. Don't be hard on Charlie Hunnam. And
he's great in this movie because he's
not.
Well, yeah,
it's such a weird choice for that character. And I don't know. He's not great, but like I don't know if it makes sense, but he's not great, but I love that he plays that character.
I got to get this point out before I forget, but I mean, you're right. And it's like, you're taking the guy who normally plays the handsome hero, and then you're turning him into the damsel in distress. And it's a great touch. But what I love about like these two movies is the main character is like, I like Charlie Hunnam in that, and I like Mia Wasikowska in this, but they are like the most boring characters in their respective movies, and the more interesting characters are the side characters, like Rinko Kikuchi in Pacific Rim and Lucille and Thomas in this. Mm-hmm. Like the more interesting stuff is going on the sidelines in these movies, and I feel like that's a common theme that he wanted to explore in this particular period in his career. I find that fascinating.
You want to talk about more interesting stuff going on the sidelines? Let's talk about some character actors who pop up in this thing. You got Jim Beaver as Papa, and he's great. You got Jonathan Hyde as some critic, who's also great. And then the best, you got Bern Gorman playing a guy named Mr. Holly. And he may be my favorite character in a movie.
Bern Gorman is fantastic.
Oligriv? Is that, how do you pronounce his name? Ogilvy. Ogilvy. Sorry, Jesus.
I think you just put a curse on yourself.
I probably did. I read the fucking Latin. But shout out to that's our boy, Jonathan Hyde, who you might know from such films as Anaconda.
Hell yeah.
And Richie Rich. He's Cadbury.
And The Mummy and Jumanji and Titanic. He's my boy.
He's amazing. And I feel like this is the first time that we've seen him in like
a while
since The Mummy.
Yeah.
No, it had been a while, but no, there's tons of great actors in this, and that's the thing is too. Charlie, back to what we were saying, Charlie Hunnam isn't bad in it. It's just he's so clearly not at the caliber that the rest of the cast is at, and that's what I think. It's the only one that kind of stands out for me, and that could also be because I'm gonna diss myself. I was a Sons of Anarchy fan. I did name my dog Opie, and I regret all of it. I did eventually fall off of Sons of Anarchy, and I tried going back, and that the show is borderline not watchable. But
so Mitch, I really want to start watching it because I heard someone describe it as like a show where it's like the worst criminals of all time. They'll try and like pull a heist to steal like $380 and 9 of their best friends will die. That's like,
it's true.
I want to watch that show
but they'll also be really cool while they do it too. Don't forget.
Listen, it came out when I was in my early 20s. I was very depressed. I was depressed through all my 20s, but for some reason it worked for me at the time. But I remember being like, oh, I could tell the moment that Sons of Anarchy started going bad, and I was like, oh no, this show is not doing well. And then I went back to the beginning, and I was like, oh shit, it's been bad all along. I didn't know.
There must have been. It was just something in the water. I don't know. They had like some kind of hypnosis over us, because I remember I watched that whole show front to back, and I don't think I could even go anywhere near it now.
No, it's pretty rough.
Those older FX shows, like from when they started doing dramas, they tried really hard to be cool
and gritty,
And then I feel like I never watched any of them really, but I feel like they all eventually jumped the shark pretty quickly. Like I remember Nip Tuck, I heard just went fucking bananas at a certain point.
Yeah, honestly, that's one that it was bad. So it's such a tangent, but I loved Nip Tuck, but Nip Tuck was a show that definitely jumped the shark. And then going back to it, it's like it was ridiculous from the get-go. But back then we didn't have the
cool FX show. I'm sorry,
I think that was effects, but the one that I liked out of them was the same guy who did Sons of Anarchy. It was the cop one with Michael Chiklis.
Oh, The Shield.
The Shield.
The Shield.
Yeah, it's just toxic white guy stuff.
I heard The Shield. The Shield. The end of the first episode, they play Ba with the Ba as they're going on a raid,
and it's people wonder why I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
fucking thing ever.
My name is Kid.
Okay, I heard The Shield was actually good for its entire run. Anyway, welcome back to FX Talk.
Yeah, well, you know what was a good FX show? The Strain, produced by Guillermo.
Toro. Bringing it back. Good work.
I did like what I saw of that.
Yeah, I never got into it, but it wasn't because I didn't like it or anything. I think that one just slipped past me.
Yeah, I never watched it. I watched the pilot and thought it was okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is like even I remember at this time I was having I don't know if it would have been actually at this time, but there was a brief period where I wasn't a big Tom Hiddleston fan. I think it's because Loki was just in everything, and like I'm still a Marvel fan. I like for the most part the movies, but I just got kind of tired of them. And now with a little bit of space between all that and going back to this movie, I liked Crimson Peak significantly more this time around than I did even the other times. But it's a beautiful movie, and it's just so.
I definitely agree with that. I find that Tom Hiddleston, I just kind of wrote him off as being a douche.
Yeah,
I thought
he's definitely
was
not.
like a douchey character, and I was just like, yeah, he's a douche. But he's really, he's a fantastic actor, and he takes some fucking brutal shit in this film.
He takes some W's. Yeah.
takes a brutal shit in this film.
Well, seriously, his death is like a terror, like a
yes.
fear of mine. Not like
Horrifying.
there's something more visceral about being stabbed in the cheek, like in that area.
Oh, and you see it like
in his
you
eye.
don't see it in his eye.
Yeah,
But yeah, you see the blood
And
in
by
his
your
eye.
lover
Oh,
slash
God.
sister,
Yeah.
nonetheless.
At the hands of the person
So
who
hot.
loves you most in this world.
Yeah, but that I love his ghost look though. Like when he comes back and he does have that
It's
like ethereal.
man, he
fantastic.
just instantly ghostifies. He's like, I'm over here now.
Yeah.
I'm over here now. So Tom Hiddleston, one of my dream movies that will never happen, but like I so badly want them to do like a Hammer horror mini series or something about like the making of all those movies. I want him to play Peter Cushing so bad.
Oh man, you're speaking my God, that sounds amazing. I would love
He
that.
would be a perfect Peter. I don't know who could play Chris Lee because really no one could play Chris Lee, but he would make a perfect Peter
It's
Cushing.
gonna be Brendan Fraser in a skinny suit.
Better than the guy
In a skinny suit.
You think that Tom Hiddleston would be better than the guy they got for Rogue One?
Shut it.
I don't even
Hey,
know.
we will not take any Rogue One slander on this.
Oh no,
podcast.
I love Rogue One.
Okay, just
I'm
clarifying.
I'll
setting
slander
someone
the
else.
Cushing stuff because that's an abomination.
That's a great casting choice. Let him as Peter Cushing though. I would love that. That's awesome.
I love it. I love him in this movie too. I think he's wonderful as like the gothic romance archetype.
Totally.
Yeah,
he fits
he
it so
really
well.
fits that really well. Like I could see him gothically making love to like a vampire or something.
Gothically making love.
I think there's like how you do it is like there's a move you like
The
one
Marilyn Manson
hand
stays on during sex, babe.
one hand is like on the back, one hand is like on the thigh, and then you just go like that like that.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's a
his
good move. That's a good move.
Write it
I'm gonna
down,
steal
folks.
that move.
That's
One
the
hand on the back,
Hiddleston.
one hand on the thigh, and then go.
Oh yeah, shout out
But,
Doug Jones too.
Oh, Doug Jones, just MVP of every time he's in a Del Toro joint.
Was it Doug Jones and Javier Botet, right?
Yes,
The two guys.
Javier
two
Botet.
skinny
That's
guys.
right.
Couple
Because this
of
was
fellas.
this was in the era of Botet where he was doing all those roles.
He was like the new Doug Jones. Do you think Doug Jones? I mean, Doug Jones is like a famously very, very, very nice guy.
Yeah.
So like, probably not. But if I was Doug Jones, the whole time seeing Javier Botet coming up, I'd be like, "You better stay out of here! You're taking all my roles."
Fucking rookie.
Just barking.
Fun fact. God, we're going off on so many tangents, but if we're talking about Jones and Botet, Doug Jones played the little girl over there in the apartment at the end of Quarantine, the role that Javier Botet played in Wreck.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
he's
Wow,
literally
that's
like
weird.
following, like they're literally following in each other's footsteps.
Doug Jones also played the ice cream man in the trailer for that movie Legion.
Oh my God.
And I
the old
assume
lady
also
movie.
in the movie
Oh my
Legion.
God.
The old lady crawling on the ceiling movie. How could we forget?
Yes.
Jesus.
With Dennis Quaid as a
Oh my God,
cook
Dennis
with a
Quaid.
hook for a hand or something.
Yeah.
Dennis
fuck.
Quaid and Tyrese.
I forgot all about Legion. I saw that movie in the theater. Oh God. I
That
hated
may
money
need
when I
to
was
be
younger.
Mark and I's next movie on the territory.
They
Yeah.
made a TV show out of it.
What?
They
No,
did. They made a TV. I'm pretty sure they made a TV.
Did they make-
show
You're a
off of
liar.
Legion.
Oh, because
You're a bold-faced liar.
you might be right
What?
because I know they did like Dan Stevens. It's like a DC universe show based
Wait.
on the character Legion. I think it's
Well, no, there's that, but
they did. You're right, Mark. You are right. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that
What were they?
who was asking for that? The people who went and saw Legion and Priest. Me.
Hey, I watched
Wait, are you
Priest.
serious?
But yeah.
Wait,
The boys
wait.
got anything else they want to say about Crimson Peak?
oh,
Sorry.
I got thrown off there. I mean, I guess we did talk about the hand job already.
Well, yeah, we covered the most important part right there.
I know. I gotta mention something. So I saw this movie 3 times in theaters, partially because I loved it, but also partially because I'd started working at a movie theater, so I got discounts and I got free movies. I was taking full advantage.
Okay, hey, what? Before you continue, what's the secret to the popcorn?
I did not get near the popcorn, so I don't know.
What do you got discounts and you're like, I don't want popcorn.
No,
Not a popcorn boy.
popcorn's fine, but like I mean, it was
What?
Alamo Draft House, so I was more of like a
Hayden,
meal
you
and
know
entree
this.
guy.
This is your brother.
Pop is the dude. Popcorn is essential.
Yes.
I don't know. I've never. I mean, I like popcorn.
What do you
just
do at the
fine.
theater? You just sit there with your hands on your lap? You're
Look,
not eating like a fucking monster?
I'm a hot dog guy, so I get a hot
Oh.
dog, and it's usually
Oh,
gone by
man.
the time the movie starts.
I mean, respect on the hot dog, but I need like a giant, oversized thing of popcorn.
Like
that
I gotta eat till I hate myself.
yeah, and and
yes.
it's before the trailers even start. Like as soon as I sit down, it's
Now here's the question: what are you dumping in the popcorn? Are you done? I'm an M&M and popcorn guy.
well, you guys are American, so I don't know if you can like relate at all. But like down here, I got my ketchup seasoning. And I sprinkle that in, and it's fucking
Right,
incredible.
because
What
that's
the
not a
We
US
don't-
thing. You guys
that
don't
is
even have
not a
ketchup
US
chips there, hey?
No,
ketchup. What?
Ketchup chips, like
Ketchup chips are a big thing here, my guy.
Oh yeah, you guys are
That's
missing
We're like
out.
blowing your mind here. Yes,
I've
condiment
been to
chips.
Canada twice and I never had ketchup.
Well, you're
chips.
gonna be
But
having
there's
them when you come.
unfortunately we don't have mustard chips though, which
Oh my
is
god, that's so fucking
well,
gross.
what's
Now I did get to so
Well-
privilege tangent right here real quick. After high school, I did go to Europe for a week, and it was during the World Cup. So I was like in London when London was playing the US, and they had all these different flavors of Lay's chips. This is the thing I remember from that trip. They had all these different flavors of Lay's chips, and they had a cheeseburger flavor, and you could literally take a chip and eat one chip, and you could taste every flavor of a cheeseburger.
Yep.
Cheese, mustard, ketchup. And I was like, this is blowing my mind.
Yeah, we have a ballpark hot dog flavor here that's also fucking terrific, and it's like that too.
So
my
y'all
God.
have those chips. That's what happened to the chips.
Yeah.
They
Canada
yeah,
got
they're,
it.
they're like common at our superstore.
got
Now, if you don't like pickles on your burger, can you get like a substitute for the chips for
No,
like
just
ones
you
that don't
grow up
have
and
the
eat it
pickle
like
and
an
the flavor?
adult.
I'm
I'm
with
not- that's-
I'm with
that's-
Mark. I'm a no pickles on my burger guy.
What
I
the
love dill
fuck?
pickles, my favorite flavor, everything, but not on a fucking burger.
Not on a burger.
What?
Do you at least order it with pickle and then take the pickle off so you can have the pickle flavor
I don't
on there
want that
without
shit
the
near
I
my
don't want
patty.
You know,
that
if
on my
I would
burger.
order it anyway and give it to someone else who genuinely enjoys the pickle. If someone wanted my tomato, by all means, have my tomato.
This is by far
Ooh.
the biggest tangent
Let me
been on in a
yeah,
while.
let me get
Hey,
back to the
tomatoes are red, which is crimson.
I got to
which
get
is
back
there
to
you
the
go.
point that I was making. So yeah, I saw it 3 times at the Alamo Draft House when this movie was out. They actually had a beer that tied into the movie. They had a Crimson Peak Ale, and
Ooh.
it was an amber ale,
Mm.
and it was delicious. And I must have had that like every time I went to the movies until they stopped serving it, which is like pretty much the rest of the year. I have such fond memories. I would give anything for them to bring that beer back.
Did it have like a catchphrase on it, like tastes like incest or something like that?
Amber beer is real. This much I know. Nah, it doesn't ring. It doesn't have a ring to it. I do love
This
amber
much I-
beer though.
Also, I just want to point out what a great year for snowy movies 2015 was, because this came out
Hateful Eight.
this came out a couple months away from
Revenant.
The Hateful Eight, The Revenant, and Carol. And if you were lucky
Ooh.
enough to see The Black Coat's Daughter in 2015,
Mhm.
That's a snowy ass
That
year,
was
dude.
as someone, snow is like
That's a
my
lot of
favorite.
shoveling, my guys.
That's one of my favorite things to be in a movie. You have a snowy setting in a movie, I am there. So that was a great year.
Are you guys around snow?
Yes.
I don't even know whereabouts.
Hell no.
No.
It snows in Texas like once every. Actually,
Oh,
more
you
and
guys
more
had that like
frequently.
grid get knocked out the other year.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, every now and then we'll get snow. It's like it used to be once every 50 years, and now it's like once every 2 years. And because nothing is wrong with the climate or
No,
anything,
not at all.
it's just how it's happening. But
I wish we could give it to you
but-
guys. I'm a fucking over the snow already.
Well, I've spent like a good deal of my life in Colorado because my parents spend a lot of time up there. So I've spent plenty of time around.
They filmed
snow. I
South
love it.
Park there.
they filmed that documentary South Park up there. I've spent enough time in the Pacific Northwest to know I really like snow, but I haven't lived with snow,
Yeah.
so I'd probably
You-
feel differently.
You
For
come
sure.
on down here for a month, and if you survive it, then you'll be like, I fucking hate snow.
We're like Anakin Skywalker, but instead of sand, we hate snow.
Yeah. It's coarse and it's wet and it gets everywhere.
Imagine driving in it's the most annoying thing.
But yeah, we couldn't drive on. We literally couldn't drive for like a week in Texas because there was a little bit of ice.
Yeah,
Oh.
no, that's
That's what David Pryor roasted our entire state because of that.
I'm
he's banned
lucky
from now
enough
on.
to live in a state where if the roads get icy, Amazon's like, okay, we'll close down our station. We're not having deliveries. But other places where roads freeze regular, they're probably like, suck it up.
yeah. In Saskatchewan, your entire garage could be snowed in, and you still need to go to work. And then even in Vancouver, there's an inch of snow, and everyone runs around like they're fucking everything's on fire. It's unreal.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Crimson Peak, real good movie.
We all
Really
enjoyed
good.
it.
Yeah.
I've
Anything
had
else you
a-
guys want
a
to add
splendid
before we
time.
close up?
Well,
So I want to mention real quick, the Arrow Blu-ray release of it is really cool.
Oh my
It's got
God,
some got some good little special features on there. Like we mentioned, the commentary is very, very good. However, my favorite detail about the Arrow Blu-ray release is the reverse art on it is amazing. Because at first you have this whatever little art with like the red ghost.
Oh,
or
I
whatever.
love that
But
art
then you
too.
turn it around.
I
Huh?
love that art too.
Well, you turn it around and it turns it into one of those classic paperback covers of like the woman running away from the scary house. And that's exactly what kind of story this is.
Mhm.
And it's Mia Wasikowska with like the candelabra or whatever. And she's like standing next to a tree with Allerdale Hall all the way in the background. And it's amazing. I love that so much.
Yeah,
actually,
I didn't even know about this release.
that actually they put one out with like a big, thick, fancy book, and I saw it every time I went to this record store, and I was just like, I've already got the Universal Blue, maybe next time. And now that it's out of print, it's like one of my most sought after things. But also, I want to mention it before I forget. Mondo put out this great poster for Crimson Peak by Daniel Danger. You guys should look it up sometime. I've actually managed to get that, and I haven't gotten it framed yet. I've had it for like 4 years, and I still haven't gotten it framed because I'm lazy as hell. But it's like
Oh, it's beautiful.
one of my favorite things Mondo's ever done. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'm looking at it
I
now.
have
It's
a-
so gorgeous.
Yeah, this is amazing.
It's the
I have a few
detail.
Guillermo things I want to ask y'all about before we close out.
Okay.
Okay.
Raw.
Guillermo is one of these guys who's known for like announcing every project he's interested in, and then like he quits most of them. So like they mostly never go anywhere or they get canceled. So sometimes he walks out and sometimes they just fall apart. So there's a few that I want y'all's opinions on. Y'all mentioned At the Mountains of Madness. Now, most recently, they released that CGI test
Yep.
for it, which was interesting.
Very cool.
However, even more recently, after the release of Pinocchio, he said there is renewed interest and he might do it as a stop motion feature.
I'd be into that.
And I I honestly don't know how I feel about it.
Any way that he can get this done, I think in whatever style he will excel. He's just that good of a
It would be-
storyteller.
It would be interesting, but I don't know if stop motion, like, it just seems like a weird fit. But if it's the only way to get it made,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And look, I'm a major hypocrite here because I've been so excited for the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio movie. I love stop motion. I love Guillermo. I think that those two would work so well together. It's been out for like 2 weeks. I still haven't seen it. So
I watched
here.
it. I watched it. I don't know how successful it is. It's very interesting. However, it kind of makes me sad, and not totally in the way that like it wants to, because it is a sad movie. It's a Guillermo Pinocchio movie, and it's pretty good, but it makes me a little sad because my big project of his that I wish he would just do already while he has the clout.
Hellboy 3.
Like, Hellboy 3 would be cool.
We got Hellboy
but for-
3.
Oh no. Hellboy 3 at home. It's the David Harbour one.
Oh boy.
Mom, I want Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy 3. Hellboy 3 at home.
We have Hellboy 3. That's good. For me, I just want him to stop. I just want him to make Frankenstein already.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
been talking about it
That would be
forever.
amazing.
It's clearly like the movie that he feels he was put, or the story he feels he was put on this earth to make. And the cool thing about Pinocchio is he puts a lot of those ideas he wanted to do with his Frankenstein in it, but in a way that makes me sad, because I'm almost like, oh, does that mean he's
Is
like
that like the
not gonna-
closest you're gonna get to it? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's cool, it's interesting, but I just want that Frankenstein movie already. Like,
yeah, I would love that. And like and I know we already talked about too that the creature from the Black Lagoon, like he had famously mentioned that was the biggest influence on The Shape of Water. I like that it's different enough, like, because I do like Shape of Water. But
I like it.
yeah, I don't want to make it sound like I really don't like the movie. It's just it's nowhere near the top for me out of his movies. But
Right.
the Frankenstein is absolutely the most interesting one that I think I'd like to see from him. It's got to get done soon, though.
I mean, he puts those ideas in any movie he does with the monster.
Yeah.
He always like puts his idea of the Frankenstein monster, what makes him love it, into all of his creatures. But I'm like, just do the thing already. Just do the thing you're always talking about already, because I would love to see
Yeah,
it.
I think his movies are so expensive.
They
And
are.
he's-
The Frankenstein couldn't be more expensive
Yeah.
than.
He's
I guess it could. I
He
don't
seems bulletproof. Like, I guess because he gets these like Oscar hits every few years that kind of keep they keep giving him money, because like Pacific Rim made a lot of money in China, but that was kind of viewed as a like bomb over here for a while. It didn't do so much, and yet he still got to make Crimson Peak and Shape of Water after that, and then Shape of Water won Best Picture. That's about the best Oscar thing you can get.
Yeah.
And then he made Nightmare Alley, which bombed, and he's got Pinocchio. Who knows?
It's
how
also
that'll
a
do,
good
but
movie. Nightmare Alley was really good.
Love Nightmare Alley.
I love Nightmare Alley. I think that might be my second favorite movie of his, but that might be recency bias. But okay, the other unmade project I want to talk about, because there are a ton.
Yeah.
We could talk about him for hours. He's like Spielberg. He's got a million unmade projects. But the other one that I think is so funny is like he was in talks to work with Disney and do an adaptation of Wind in the Willows, which would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I love Wind in the Willows. But Mitch or Buzi or Mark, I know you've heard the story. But have you ever heard the story about his meeting with Disney about Wind in the Willows?
I actually don't think I have heard it.
He said he went in for a meeting about Wind in the Willows, and he gave them the pitch about like what the book means to like fantasy literature, to children's literature, what he wanted to do with it, all these like transcendental ideas about what it means, and all this kinds of, very thoughtful Guillermo stuff. And then one of the producers or the studio heads was like, could Toad have like a skateboard, and could he be like a really radical dude? And then Guillermo just got up and walked out.
Like he was fucking Poochie.
When was this? When did this meeting take place?
I think in 2011. I think somewhere around that time.
Right,
It's
like a
just-
Tony Hawk
I-
had recently been released. and-
You're telling me that the people running Disney aren't level-headed human beings?
could
they're
Toad have a
radical
skateboard
dudes.
and could he be a radical dude?
Oh
And
my
he's voiced
God.
by Nick Kroll.
That company let Gore Verbinski make a Lone Ranger movie.
Oh my God. I still haven't
Hell
seen it.
yeah.
I've heard it's great.
It's awesome, but it's
good.
still just like when they're not letting Guillermo del Toro do what he wants, and then they're letting shit like that happen.
Yeah,
It doesn't. Nothing makes sense.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in any of his meetings because yeah, the guy's just got ideas that are so much bigger than this world. And
Yes.
but that's the thing is like, for the most part, he knocks it out of the park. And I think that we are long past the point of doubting what this guy can do. So I just want to see anything he wants to put on screen.
I'd love to
I
see
agree.
an alternate universe where he got to make Pacific Rim Uprising.
Man, holy
Have-
shit.
I
I'm
have not seen that.
I saw it and it was so bad. And I
Don't
was a
they-
Pacific Rim fan. Like
I love
was-
Pacific.
was so
Don't
much
they
fun.
kill off Rinku Kikuchi's character at the beginning of
Mhm.
Uprising?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
not a movie I want to watch.
No, it was pretty rough. I remember that was when it takes a lot for me to want to leave a movie halfway through, and I was just like so exhausted by it. It was just that it was one of those ones that just annoyed me. But yeah, everything that made the first one special, like Guillermo's voice, is just not there. It was just like, oh, here's another Transformers movie that isn't Transformers.
Yeah,
So-
it gave Hayden a gif he likes to send every now and then, though. So I guess that's
Oh, Charlie Day screaming, "That's what I'm talking about!" Yeah, that's good.
I
It's a good
forgot
gift.
that was Charlie Day's like big money grab right there.
Oh well, oh yeah, oh no, the trailer for Pacific Rim Uprising was good. It was better than the movie because when I worked at Draft House, we played it in front of everything, and they had the "Am I wrong? Because I want to get it on till I die," and then eventually it just like my memory just morphed it into "Am I wrong? Because I want to die," because that I saw that trailer like a million times. I just wanted to be dead.
Yeah, not a great one, but Crimson Peak is. And you guys are great. You guys are such delightful human beings. I'm so happy we were able to make this
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Dude,
I know
Thanks
this
for
was
having us, man. This was a blast.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah, it was
being
so
on
much fun.
and suggesting a film that we all enjoyed and got to have a good conversation about.
yeah.
Hell
Yeah, this is this whole conversation that we've had is exactly why we wanted to start this podcast 6 years ago. And yeah, it's just a blast getting to talk to you guys, and obviously we'll have you back on in the new year.
Where can
Awesome,
man.
where
I
can
can't wait for
people find you fellas if they want to hang out and chat with you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Shape14, capital
Oh,
T.
hell yeah, that's a badass username right there.
It's a
my
little
guy.
bit boozy, a little bit me, because
Yeah.
14 Mitch Oliver 14.
Yeah.
remember
Wow.
that?
That's
Yeah.
Is
sorry.
that- is-
Go on.
Is
Go
that
on.
like your go-to username number?
It was my baseball number when I was like 10.
Oh my god! So you have a reason to be attached to that number. For some reason, one day I just decided 14's my lucky number, and
It's
I
a
just
good number.
I use it on
It's a fun
every
number.
Mhm.
But yeah, capital THD underscore capital SHAP 14. You can find me on Letterboxd, Mark Wanner. I'm not doing anything important on either one of those sites, but every now and then I write something stupid I'm proud of on Letterboxd. So give me a follow.
You're a great follow. That's
Thanks,
you
man,
know, and
thanks.
I don't know how you guys feel, but you obviously have gotten to know my personality a little bit over time. But like whenever I say those guys are fucking insane or those psychotic opinions that they have, I mean that with love. And I love logging
Yeah.
into Letterboxd and seeing Mark Wanner give something ridiculous 5 stars. Like, what is this?
Are you generous with the fives, Mark?
I think you
Not
just
so
really
much-
like movies.
Not so much the fives, but I'm a very positive guy. Like I don't give a lot of things below 3. I can usually find the positive, but a movie needs to really work for me to give it a 5.
Yeah.
I hand out 5s, man, because like they're there. Why you're not going to use them? I mean, come on.
Hayden, where can
Like-
people find you if you're handing out 5s? Where can they check it out?
So, So I'm on Letterboxd. Hayden Comes Alive. Find me there. I don't really give out any of my other social media because I don't really have any other social media, but you can find me on Letterboxd. Follow me there. Slide in my DMs. No, you can't direct message people on Letterboxd, but I did recently have a short story published in Roadkill Volume 7. So if you want to get somebody, this is past Christmas at this point, but if you want to get somebody a nice little birthday present, get them Roadkill Volume 7. They can read the short story Axe Squatch, written by Hayden Gilbert in there. And
that sounds fucking incredible.
Yeah, I'm excited to read. I'm definitely going to read it. What's the story called? Axe Squatch?
Axe Squatch.
Does it have anything to do with Sasquatch?
So it's about a Bigfoot with an axe.
Buzi.
It's like an actual.
I know, it
axe,
sounds incredible. Like,
I
an
told you,
actual
these are your
axe, or
people.
just like an axe to grind. Like it's a metaphor.
He's got an axe to grind, but he also has a physical axe that he picks up and he kills people with it.
I cannot wait to read that. And before we close up here, just want to quickly read Mark Wanner's Letterboxd bio. Is Michael Bay, Rob Zombie, and Zack Snyder are pretty cool, baby.
I need to change that.
Oh my god!
not
And,
now. We
Never
Atta-
change that,
Attack
Mark.
the-
Never
Attack
change
of the
that.
Clones, 4 stars.
I
now he's just calling you out right now.
I'm sorry.
I'm an individual.
Pretty cool, baby.
I don't know. What to
Pretty
It's
say.
pretty cool, baby.
Like,
cool.
you guys need people like me out
It's
there
true.
because at a certain point you get tired of seeing 5-star reviews for Pulp Fiction or
Mhm,
You
which
know
is a
what,
5-star
that's-
movie.
Yeah.
But
it is, yes.
But yeah, I keep saying last thing, but one of my absolute favorite Markisms is you quoting Chris Pratt in Jurassic World saying, "Oh boy."
Yeah, I random quote like I have
Oh, boy.
random quotes that just stick in my head. Like Crimson Peak, Jessica Chastain at once refers to Jim Beaver as a coarse, condescending man, and for some reason that quote just sticks with me. The most
It slips
random
off the
quotes
tongue.
from the most random movies
Well,
stick
it's
with
it's the best when it's something so inane you can quote it to anything,
Yeah.
but you're like Chris Pratt from Jurassic World.
Oh boy. Jeez. Okay. Well, yeah, this was a blast, fellas. And yeah, look forward to hearing you on more episodes. I know you guys got some exciting stuff coming up on, I believe, Film Feast and Film Feast. Is that where you guys are doing your top discoveries?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
we're doing
we're doing the top 10 of the year. We're gonna do the definitive top 30 movies of the year, or I guess each of our top 10s. Nothing outside of them.
yeah, because if like 3 of us put Morbius on there, that's not going to count as 3 separate movies.
no.
Okay. Yeah, and but obviously Morbius is going to show up.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of the Terror Table, and we will see you next time, where we will be talking about mine and Boozy's top 10 favorite horror movies of the year. So we got lots of catching up to do. I know we got to start 2 weeks of holidays, a day from I got one more day of work, and then it's going to be just movies, baby.
Just dive right into Tubi.
Yep. Tubi for all of the new release flicks.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you guys want to say before we close up?
Cue the coolest podcast theme song there is.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time on the Terror Table.